Good evening, everyone. I am Chris, and I am delighted to be joined by two people tonight. We have Bathtime, and we have JXEditor. We have been, this has been a stream long in the making for like the last couple of weeks because some news broke out. I can't remember when it did. It's been a few weeks ago now about the Silmarillion movies might just be looking this bit more of a reality. So Peter Jackson has apparently been in talks, in discussion with the Tolkien Estate, and we're going to be doing a reaction to his announcement. Whether he's going to be directing them, I don't know. I feel like he's kind of tapped out now, maybe a producer or something like that. But after we've done our reaction, we thought it'd be really cool to sort of pitch our own ideas, almost as if we were going to the movie studios, the movie execs, and saying, right, this is how the Silmarillion should be brought to screen. I guess before we do get into our pitches, we should sort of give our own thoughts on the Silmarillion and whether we personally think it should be adapted in the first place. Because, I mean, that was a whole point of contention as well. Christopher Tolkien, being a wonderful custodian of his father's works, absolutely vetoed any possibility of a film ever being made. He was very protective of his father's work, especially the Silmarillion. And now Christopher Tolkien is no longer with us. The Tolkien Estate has moved to different hands, different leadership now. They're much more forthcoming with potentially selling off rights. So, yeah, where's our head at with this story about potential Silmarillion movies being made?
Bathtime, would you like to begin?
Oh, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well out there. I'm going to be a stick in the mud and say that I don't really like the idea of adapting the Silmarillion for several reasons. One is that the complete story is The Lord of the Rings with a kind of child's version as The Hobbit, and these are things that have arcs and characters and themes. And the Silmarillion is like a sort of extended universe of myths and half stories and so on. It's not even I know that this might be heretical to say, but I'm not sure how canon it is. It's something that was never finished and has sort of been revised. And when I talk about my film, for example, there's huge kind of like philosophical issues that Tolkien never got to. Probably the most famous is the nature of orcs and so on. And so it's extremely difficult. It is essentially the elf Bible. And the second part is I don't think it fits in particularly well with the Peter Jackson cinematic universe of being gritty and realistic and grounded. So if we were to do the Silmarillion, I'd like to see it have a different flavour and a different style. But I am obviously going to watch it all. I'm extremely excited for it. And it's just the Rings of Power has kind of coloured me against it, I'm afraid.
Valid. How about you, JX?
Well, of course, Rings of Power makes me all the more skeptical. But just initially, I'm highly skeptical. But at the same time, I do recognize that if it's done well, and it's not impossible for it to be done well, it could be done really, really, really well. Call me an optimist. Call me a fool. But I think it could be done really fucking well. Excuse me.
No, you can swear. You can swear. It's fine. It's all good.
Quoting Tolkien.
Yes, exactly. straight from the page right there. I want to be an optimist, I do. And ask me 25 years ago, after watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I would have been all gung-ho for this. Like, let's go. Let's keep cranking out these movies. Let's examine what we know and have a look at all the big screen adaptations that we've seen post Lord of the Rings trilogy. We had the Hobbit trilogy, which, has some good moments, has some very good moments, but overall didn't really stick the landing, especially not in terms of an adaptation of the book in question. We had the Rings of Power from Amazon. Need I say more? I will be saying more later this year, actually. I have been in contact with Everything in Middle-earth, and he's down for season 3 later this year, so look out for those. That's going to be good fun. And then we had War of the Rohirrim, Now, we haven't seen the upcoming two. I mean, we've got The Hunt for Gollum and Shadow of the Past. So, you know, we're still cranking out movies and whatnot. And this, you know, if these Silmarillions see the light of day, it's really the sky's the limit with how many you can produce. As we'll get on to with JX, with your pitch later on. There are many, many stories that can be covered. And it's very difficult to adapt. I mean, Lord of the Rings itself was considered completely unfilmable for decades. And, you know, some may still consider that to be the case. I think the trilogy that we got was probably the best adaptation of those books we're ever likely to get. So I don't want to rule the Silmarillion out, but even down to that fact, its structure, its contents, its constant changing tones, and Bathtime, as you mentioned, because these would absolutely have the movies aesthetic of the Lord of the Rings that we've seen before, even The Hobbit did as well. This would be trying to fit amongst those, and it's a very, very, very tough nut to crack. So with all that being said, I'm going to bring up the article here. This is on... I couldn't find many articles actually on this. It seemed like this was quite big news that maybe flew under the radar a little bit, I suppose. Maybe because nothing official's been confirmed yet. But this is on NME, and it's Peter Jackson in talks to adapt J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion into movies. There's a whole article here, but we're going to get down to the video. Hopefully people at home can hear this, and hopefully you chaps can hear it as well. If you can't, just let me know, and I'll see if I can find it elsewhere. But this is what we're referring to. Oh, there we go. That's immediately took me to Insta. Okay, hang on. Let me... Oh, guys, are we still live? Hello?
We're still live.
Okay. Hang on. Let me close that. All right, hopefully we can hear this.
Are you playing?
Hi, Chris.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can't hear Peter Jackson though. If you can.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
Yeah, no, nothing just happened.
Hang on. Oh, okay. Well, I clicked shared screen and I was watching it. I didn't know if it was showing it on the screen. Anyway, let's just skip that then. So essentially, Peter Jackson wittering on as he does as of late and just saying that discussions are very much in the works now, and the Tolkien Estate is open to it, which, you know, for good or bad, I reckon we're probably going to get these in... Can we put a time frame on this? 10 years we'll start seeing these?
Maybe.
I mean, we've got two on the horizon. Yeah. Well, I think we should get to our pitches then. So this is sort of the main conceit. This is the main idea of this video, in that we're going to have a bit of fun. We're all Tolkien fans. We're all fans of the Silmarillion. I've tried to do my homework this week, gents. I've gone through the audiobook again. I was listening to it on 2x speed. So although it's you know, at regular speed, it's difficult to try and cram all these names, places, events. I'm going to do my best. I'm getting slowly better each and every time. But if I do get some names wrong or place names, don't at me. I'm not a Tolkien scholar. I am a Tolkien fan. JX, I believe you're kicking us off. So if you would like to pitch your idea. Yep.
I need to disappear for about 20 minutes and about 50 minutes to an hour. So I'm taking the lead, but I will be taking questions later if the stream is still going on.
Okay, sure. You have the round, my friend. Off you go.
So to begin with, very, very simple question. How many movies do you make of the Silmarillion? You know, you had a book that was like this big, and that got 3 movies that were really big, and then you got a movie that was a book that was like this big, and that got 3 movies, and now we got a book that's a little bigger than that one, about this big, and I want to make 9 movies from it.
12 you initially had, right?
I initially had 12. However, since I'm taking the lead, and we're not... Originally, I was doing this sort of alternate timeline thing where these movies were being made right after The Hobbit. And so in this, we wouldn't have Rings of Power or War of the Rohirrim or anything like that. So the Akalabeth would have been its own trilogy tagged on at the end of that. Sort of like Phase 4 of the MCU. If you wanted a little hint at how I structured this, a little bit, just a little bit.
Do you want me to share your screen, by the way, or
not yet.
Okay, give me the go ahead. Yeah.
Just so going purely off of just the page count, of course, 9 movies is insanity, but these stories are huge, like in terms of scale, in terms of scale of events, and not scale of text. If you want to keep the text as close to the source material as possible, although there will be times when I'm like, yeah, no, I think the timeline you want to rearrange some things, specifically in the 8th movie. But you need to greatly expand what you have. Minimal additions, but maximum expansions. Because otherwise, a major event, centuries will be brushed over in minutes.
Mm-hmm.
These stories deserve better than that. You know, they're each a. Have either of you read Leaf by Niggle, which is a Tolkien short story?
I'm afraid not.
Bathtime?
No, sir.
So what about the artist with a tree, though, right? Where he's trying to paint a picture of it.
He really wants to paint a tree, but he's so obsessed with painting all the individual details on the leaves. It's no, just like allegory, whatever I smell it. No. So the goal is to present a film saga that studios would reasonably approve, that tells the story of the Silmarils, goddammit, as well as the great tales on the scale that they deserve.
Mm-hmm. You okay?
I think, and so I think I think the best approach to this would be, like I said, like I alluded to earlier, phases like the MCU. Just like basically the studio would approve each phase, and if it's financially successful, we approve the next phase, and each one is designed to be its own isolated thing where you could reasonably stop at the end.
Okay, so I was going to say, so if the execs get cold feet, you could still tell sort of like a complete-ish story within a phase or so. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you can start us off. I'll explain each phase as we get to them.
Here we go. There will be a pop quiz at the end, ladies and gentlemen. So take notes.
Yes. Put on a smoking jacket
and a bib.
So phase 1, the Lay of Lathian.
Okay.
It's just to make sure interest even exists. It's the first films to get approved would be a 2-part adaptation of The Tale of Beren and Luthien.
Right.
Because you can't just walk in and expect funding for 9 movies. You gotta break it up.
Mm-hmm.
So now, like I said,
I love it.
originally had this whole
I want
timeline, multi-marketing idea. We've got Sauron as a werewolf.
That's amazing. That's a really cool design, actually. I love that.
We've got a Huon plushie. We've got the Lego deals, which is.
See, this is where your movie execs are like, right, we're in. I'm sold. I can see these. Yeah, put it on a lunch box.
That's how I was going to sell it, because this isn't making all these movies of the Silmarillion. It's not feasible, but it could be lucrative.
Dude, I'm looking at all of these. I want all of these right now, like in my collection.
You can't see it because it's too small, but the box that says the Silmaril, it says United Cutlery on it.
Oh my god, that's amazing! I love it.
Oh god! But not only toys and plushies and other T-shirts and other merch, but we were also going to get video game tie-ins.
Of course we are. Wait, so do I need to play this game to understand the movie, or
no? This would be like an expansion of a subplot in the movie, because. So, for those who don't know, in the Tale of Beren and Luthien, specifically at the very beginning, Gorlim is one of the rangers with Beren and Barahir and their band of outlaws. Specifically, he's the one who. Anyone here seen the first Dune movie?
Yes.
The 80s one? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
actually, yeah, the 80s one as well.
You've just seen part
the
one.
doctor who betrays the House of Atreides.
Yes. Yeah. Doctor.
Uh,
Yeah, I can't
Gorlam
remember.
is basically put in the exact same position regarding his wife, but it's Sauron who does it, and so Gorlam ends up betraying the band. They all die except for Baron, who manages to escape to Doriath. In the movie, Gorlam's gonna get turned into a werewolf after, and he's gonna be a bit of a boss fight for Barry. For I keep saying Barry here because of something else that I was working on earlier.
We're gonna make that mistake all the way through this. We're gonna get some names crossed. Yeah, no, it's fine.
But basically, I think Baron and Huon would be like the final boss of this game, and you get like an interpretation of his last scene in from his perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But that's neither here nor there. Also, when all is said and done, of course, we would get the Lego Lathian.
Why is he so goddamn big? Jesus.
I don't have the other Lego games in here. I deleted those slides to make room for to make this more concise. But they were all going to get Lego. Each phase was going to get a Lego game, and at the very end, we'd get the Lego Silmarillion.
Love it.
Or Lego the Silmarillion.
The Lego the Silmarillion. Yes.
If only. If only. On to the cast of the first Baron and Luthien movie, which is just called the first one is just called The Tale of Baron and Luthien.
Hey, Bathtime, we got Eva Green as Melian. Hey.
I do like a bit of Eva Green. I'm just imagining showing this to Professor Tolkien. He'd just jump out the window when he got Lego tie-ins and things. But
no, he's rolling in his grave right now.
I really like
gingers for me.
I really like Jason Isaacs as Thingol, though. I think that's an interesting casting. Actually, I think he could bring it. He's how Thranduil is depicted in the Hobbit trilogy is very similar to how Thingol is in the Silmarillion. Very isolationist, very covetous, greedy, with like a darker edge to him, like a more sinister edge. So I think Isaacs would be great in that role. Nice that we're bringing Cumberbatch back to tie it into sort of the Hobbit trilogy with the Necromancer and everything. That's cool.
Also, I will say, in my head, everyone was going to be like 10 years younger than they are today.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a reminder that this was originally meant to be right after The Hobbit, so Cumberbatch coming back as Sauron wasn't that weird.
I really like Mads Mikkelsen as Maedhros. I think that's really cool. I really like Mads Mikkelsen for Maedhros. I think that's really good casting.
I really hope there's a certain interaction in the Hannibal fan of me wants a certain interaction in one of the future movies. We'll get to that. But yeah, so you'll notice the Sons of Fëanor are kind of old.
Mm-hmm.
They're old enough, but they're well preserved enough that they can in prequel movies they can be aged down a little bit. Elves age a little. They don't age. They're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. However, I think sorrow and time and hardship will, of course, take its effect. And so coming in with them at this stage, I think works pretty all right.
Yeah.
At this also in my alternate timeline, we're past season 3 of Game of Thrones, so Richard Madden is available.
Mm-hmm. I love Sam Worthington's gonna get like 5 minutes of screen time in this film, though, right?
No, he's
the werewolf. Yes, sorry. Yes, okay.
Well, yeah, no, I cast Sam Worthington specifically because he's a werewolf. He's a man who's been turned into a werewolf against his will, and he just wants to be a man. He doesn't want to be a werewolf. He just wants to be a regular man.
Is that based off Terminator Salvation, where he's a
the movie where he plays a robot who just wants to be a regular man, or Avatar where he plays a blue alien, but really deep down he just wants to be a regular man, or what's it called? Clash of the Titans, where he plays a demigod, Perseus, but really he just wants to be a regular man.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'd like to have seen Tom Hardy for Dorlin, to be honest. I think he's got that kind of morose with a bit of danger
get Tom
to him.
Hardy in now.
There we
Damn.
go. Well, we'll call his agent. We'll see if he's available for it. He might be
we'll
kicked off. He might be kicked off his recent TV show, right?
In retrospect, he could. He might if the person we want isn't available because in this alternate timeline, Dwayne Johnson gets his way, then maybe he can play Morgoth.
Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, sorry, I phased
The
out
Rock
there.
is
Dwayne the
Morgoth.
Rock.
What?
The Rock
The
is
Rock
Morgoth.
is Morgoth.
I can't hear you.
Okay, once more with feeling. The Rock is Morgoth?
No.
Christ.
But if The Rock gets his way in this alternate timeline, Morgoth is going to be busy.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, we haven't got to the casting of Morgoth yet. So
We'll get to that. We got one. Let's look at the poster.
Okay. Oh, okay. So we got armored Sauron. Would he appear in that armor throughout the film when he's in his regular form to tie it in with the movies, or?
We would see him in there at one point, but just to tie it into the movies, and of course it's going to be plastered all over the promotional material.
Mm-hmm. It's a good.
But
It's a good
he's
poster.
barely in that. Actually, he's going to be more like that when we see him.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
I like the trees.
Mm.
That's really cool.
So on to the cast of the sequel. Literally everyone's the same, except instead of Sam Worthington as Gollum and Benedict Cumberbatch as Sauron, we've got Ben Barnes as Bellig Strongbow, or just Bellig, and one Henry Cavill as Morgoth. God damn it!
I can see him in sort of like his fair form when he's in Valinor, but then isn't he just like a hulking, ironclad villain the whole time?
Superman can't be hulking.
Well, I mean, it's you cast Henry Cavill. You cast Henry Cavill for the face, right? I mean, he's everything. He's the jawbones. He's everything,
and he is mighty. That is Morgoth.
Okay.
That's really where I'm at there. And of course, Henry Morgoth. Listen, I used AI.
We see Tolkien never gave us Morgoth's first name. Now we finally have it. That's it now. Every time I'm gonna read the fucking Silmarillion, that's it now. That's it. Done. Look at Huon being the best boy right there. Look at him.
So yeah, like I said, the first one is just called The Tale of Beren and Luthien. However, the second one gets a subtitle, and that is The Song of Tinuviel.
Okay.
That it's got multiple layers there because you've got, of course, how she manages to it's Angband, right? At this point,
Yes.
Autumno is fallen.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone in Angband falls asleep because of her singing, and then of course we've got the song that she sings to Mandos, who is cast, but he is cast in this, but we'll get to him later.
Okay.
We got like 3 movies before you see who he's cast, but if you watch this movie, you know who he's played by.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 2. Congratulations. It was a success. The Lay of Luthien. There is an audience. We're moving on to Phase 2. Oaths and Curses.
Okay, this is sounding like James Gunn's early DC pitch right now. Was it the Gods and Monsters or something? Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters.
Fuck off.
We'll see if he gets a chapter 2.
Like Phase 1, it is designed to be contained in case it fails. With the last Great Tale, we get a 2-part adaptation of the Children of Húrin, and followed by a movie about the origins of the Silmarils themselves. It's not a bad place to stop if it cans.
So we're telling this out of... Well, I mean, the Silmarils were established in Beren and Luthien, right? So now we're jumping back
to the earlier in the timeline.
Oh my god, okay.
Listen, if we ever do get that Akalabeth trilogy, we're gonna get. You know how you can buy box sets with the Narnia books in the wrong order?
Yes, I have one. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So
I have it right here, in fact.
if if the Akalabeth trilogy is ever made and it includes a movie, if the third one is a movie about the Last Alliance, then you could theoretically just have the everything in order box set with all 12 plus 18 movies.
Oh Christ!
So are you putting all the dark stuff into phase 2? I assume it's the Oath of Feanor and the Children of Hurin.
I'm sorry, I got the end of that.
Chris, it'll just be easier if you.
Yes. Bathtime
I'm
said,
sorry.
Are you
It's
putting
all right.
Are you putting all of the darker stuff in phase 2, like the Oaths of Feanor and what was the other one?
I will say
Hurin.
that
Urin, yeah.
I mean, not. I think the fall. I think the fall of Gondolin and the is also pretty dark, and that's not coming until phase 3.
Slightly more hopeful ending at the very end of the tour story. I mean, yes, a city has to fall, and a lot of people have to die, but it gets a happy ending when it's all said and done. I mean, the Children of Hurin's just pure misery porn, isn't it? For the entire length of it, yeah, by design.
Oh wow!
Let's have a look here. Saoirse Ronan as Finduilas. Okay.
So I like this. I really. Somebody suggested James McAvoy when I was working on this, and I was just like, "Well, James McAvoy would be Turin." Yeah, no, that works.
He was in talks to play
James
Bilbo,
McAvoy,
I think, wasn't he?
He was up. Yeah, he was up to be Bilbo, but he would be a little old for the part. But with all the time skipping, and he's got a bit of a baby face, we can paint him down a little.
Josh Brolin as Glaurung. We got Thanos as Glaurung. Nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and this would be this. I think this was going to come out this was going to be filmed a year after Deadpool 2 and Infinity War came out. So he'd be cashing a pretty nice check, and he'd bring in some tickets. Regarding excuse me, Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes is Hurin. I mean, just look at him. Look at him playing Odysseus.
I can see that.
That is Hurin.
Yeah.
You want to see him chained to a rock, don't you? But not with an eagle eating his liver every day.
Was that Hurin?
That's Prometheus.
What? Oh
No.
yeah.
I thought it was one of the sons of Feanor that gets that's chained up by his hand, isn't it?
Oh, I thought it was Hurin.
Hurin is put on a chair for 27 years.
Yes,
made to witness, and then he gets.
I'm glad I didn't include that in the post.
Gets unchained. He's not really. I mean, Hurin isn't really a part of the children of Hurin. He has a completely different arc where he goes off and murders loads of Easterlings. It's like he's definitely got to be part of the story.
Yeah, it's Mithras who gets chained to the rock by Morgoth and his hands cut off. That's Mithras. So that's was that Mads Mikkelsen? Was it Mithras?
Yes.
Yeah. No, Hurin is in prison in a similar way.
Oh god, I forgot to when I was copying and pasting some stuff for I forgot to remove Mydros from the last movie. Because that would be between Fall and Voyage. Spoilers.
The book's been out since the 70s. It's fine.
Yeah.
we're all good.
I really like Peter Dinklage as Mim. By the way, he's
the only he's the only dwarf who's allowed to be an actor now, apparently. So
yeah, really,
it doesn't surprise me that he's Mim.
Oh, he'd be. Mim, I mean, I don't like him.
He's described as a petty dwarf. He's a dwarf among dwarfs. Dwarfs. So,
I mean, he was very petty about the whole Snow White situation. So there you go. Continue.
But so yeah, so Children of Húrin, Curse of Morgoth, the Curse of Morgoth.
That's pretty
This would
cool.
start with the excuse me, the battle, or it's the Battle of Unnumbered Tears.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it would end with the fall of Nargothrond, and with Glaurung telling telling Turin to go run and save his family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like the logical midway point of that story. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're in a pretty good we're doing an all right an all right job, like structurally, because this one would be more of a grand epic, like the last two movies, excuse me. However, in the approaching sequel, as you can see, it's a much smaller movie. This was the first one where there literally just were not enough characters for me to actually use the same template I had been using for the previous ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kate Winslet's going to be in Hunt for Gollum now, isn't she? Actually, so that's one who's been snapped up.
Oh fuck!
This is fine. This is alternate history. This is fine. It's okay.
Yes.
And I do love Kate Winslet, actually. That she's an absolute goddamn national treasure.
I think I needed somebody who was respectable, someone who could be regal, beautiful, old but not old, but aged, but wearing her age fairly well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's like
And also Andrew Garfield,
Galadriel.
I needed somebody who's kind of on the same level as James McAvoy, but also elvish.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, not elf. Wait, no, is Brandir an elf? God damn it. Yes. No?
This is your story, man. I don't know. I can't remember.
Hang on. Brandir's not an elf. Somebody else is an
I'll
elf.
check it.
I don't think Brandir is an elf.
No, he's a man of the House of Haleth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he really wants to fuck Nienor. Or Neil what's her post memory loss name? Neil Way. It sounds a lot like Nienor, strangely enough.
No, I thought Nienor were. Hang on. I gotta.
No, Nienor means morning. That's her actual name.
Are you going to stick JX to like?
She's not going to be naked.
Niniel. That's it.
Niniel.
Yeah.
But is Nim the petty dwarf surviving the children of Húrin?
No, he dies at the end of the first one.
He's killed by he's
killed by
Húrin.
By Húrin, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, is he? I thought he was.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, God. Listen,
It's when then he takes the Nauglamir to Thingol.
Oh yeah. Wait. Was Nim? Wait.
We're right. We're right. I listened to it about 6 times earlier today to prep for this.
It's always been the most annoying part of the Children of Húrin to me is that Nim gets away, and it's sort of a bit like the Children of Húrin to me is like the inverse of the Fellowship. You know, like you have like Legolas.
I see what you're saying.
The bad version and things, and it's a story that I don't like. But I do know that it's that Húrin basically when he's released by Morgoth, he just goes off on this. He's completely changed. Tolkien says that he his eyes have been changed by Morgoth, and he can only see the bad in the world. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things that happens is he basically tracks down and butchers the petty dwarf. So I was wondering if it
leads Morgoth to well, not to Gondolin itself, but Morgoth
just the
realm. Yeah.
He sort of like identifies the area, but it's would this be like a sort of post credits thing? Where
I think it would be in like it would be within like the last 20 minutes.
Right. Okay. I think it's a hard story.
Like the last 20 minutes, I'm saying, is when Húrin gets released and he ends up getting his reunion with Morwen. I I think before that he's gonna murder the fuck out of Mr. Dinkelberg.
Right. I'm not a fan of Children of Huron. I've got to be honest. Like, too dark for me.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I can see like the third act though, like you get a little bit of Glaurung. You get a tasteful amount just as like your third act. And then it's like, well, you got to come back for the sequel because if you want to see all hell break loose with Glaurung, that's
like the Hobbit.
Yeah, exactly. We've got to get asses in seats. It worked for that one. So yeah.
And he's
excuse
not
me, JX. Why does Glaurung have wings? Because the first winged dragons.
That I used the one where he did have wings. I meant to grab one where he didn't. I swear.
Okay. I'm just gonna get to.
Well, you can pretend that the wings are part of Morgoth. There, it's his shoulders over it, and it's foreshadowing like Ancalagon. There you are. That's how you get out of that.
Is this going to be the whole debate now? Do Balrogs have wings? Does Morgoth have wings? Sauron technically has wings because he can transform into a vampire bat. He transforms into Dracula, so there's that.
This is true. Yeah, so this one basically picks up where the other one leaves off. Honestly, so I said the last one would end with Glaurung teasing Turin and he would go off riding. I also thought it could end with him finding Nienor.
Mm-hmm.
And then like pick up with her start having regained some of her faculties.
Is she with child at this point when
no, not yet.
It gets fucking dark, doesn't it? It gets so messed up.
Yeah, when do we find out about the parentage of that child?
Okay.
I guess it just happens because they get married, don't they?
We're aware of it. Like the audience is aware of the tragedy as it's happening.
Right. Okay.
Would you conceal the identity of the sister in the first one, or have her in shadows or off camera, so that she's just kind of a new character that's introduced, and then we get a Empire Strikes Back like reveal in the second movie?
I have thought about this. I've gone back and forth. Right now, I'm saying we know. Because but that part of me is also that's the part of me that's saying the end of the first one with her having just lost her memories and being found.
Yeah.
Because then you've got this horrifically tragic, terrifying ending.
I think that would work better because I always like when characters find out something, a revelation or whatever, or discover something as we, the audience, do. So yeah, I think if you kept her identity a secret and she's just the kind of this like bedraggled, lost in the wilderness, panicked, frightened woman, and then in the second one, he takes her in, they fall in love, they get married, she's with child, we're all happy, and then boom, we get that bombshell from Glaurung later.
The problem with that though, Chris, is that like a tragedy, which this is based on, is the whole sort of structure of a tragedy is that the audience already knows the ending, and that's why it's tragic. You identify all the parts where, like, Macbeth, for example, probably the most famous tragedy, is that there's ways to avoid it, and so on. And I suppose it's a bit like the Star Wars prequel or something. For me, I think it's better to understand that Anakin is going to be Darth Vader, and you see all the mistakes that he makes and people around him make on the way, rather than finding it out, because that is at the heart why it's a tragedy.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It
could go back. I think it could work both ways. In all honesty, I think it could work. It's just you're gonna be horribly grossed out.
At the moment, I'm leaning towards the audience should know.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got my 20-minute,
You got to speed the shit up, boy. You're on a clock. Let's get through this.
All right. Now you notice the movie is called Master of Doom. That,
of course,
that was going to be the tie-in video game of the first movie, except then they got a cease and desist from ZeniMax, who owns the Doom games. So they had to rebrand to Turambar.
Right,
and as a result, the second movie, which was going to be called Turambar, ended up being called Masters of Doom.
I got you. Okay.
All right, that's the end of the marketing part of this.
Oh, Masters of Doom. Oh, I don't like that at all. Who is the Master of Doom?
That's just
Surely
what
it's only
Turumbar
Eru
means.
Ilúvatar.
Turumbar literally means Master of Doom.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Tolkien can have it as well. I don't like that. He's getting it too. Yeah. Milky.
Fucking
Untitled
Brian Blessed as Owlay. Yes.
First
Yes.
movie titled The Silmarillion. The Silmarillion, The Oath of Feanor.
I don't hate this casting.
I do.
Oh.
Straight up, Owlay, Brian Blessed. Owlay is sort of traditionally seen as the most corrupting of the Valar. And I don't think that it fits in well. I don't think the idea of a craftsman fits in well with Brian Blessed, who is essentially Tom Bombadil as a human.
Well, he's like the king that you could. I think wasn't he in talks to play Thorin, or I don't know if he was like a fan casting. But now we've gone for like he is the father of all the dwarves. This is where all the dwarves have sort of spawned.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I get it. It's just that, like, I think it's because we all have our different ideas and interpretations. And one of the big ones for me is the idea that trying to make stuff turns you evil because it is, it's trying to imitate Eru Ilúvatar is one of the most consistent themes. And so I think that Owlay is someone who should have a bit of darkness to him. And I have to be honest, I've only ever really seen
Mandos?
Blessed. Sorry?
What, like Mandos does? Sorry, because he's literally I noticed today
black.
he was literally the only black guy I cast.
Yeah, it's just that. I quite like Cillian Murphy as Feanor, although it's spelt wrong, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, no. I realized that way too late.
It happens. Don't worry about it. Like, I wait till. I called one of my characters Runway today because I forgot his name was Ronway. But it's Liam Neeson as it's interesting.
Maedhros and Finarfin, I really want to have a scene together. But that's just because I really like Hannibal.
Mm.
Yeah, you've picked three actors that all do really resemble each other, which is quite cool as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do we think to Rachel Weisz's? Well, Yavanna's got to be the wife of Owlay.
Yep.
That's interesting. Wow. I mean, Brian Blessed absolutely batting above his average there. My God.
That's how I would cast Goldberry and Bombadil, to be honest.
Hell yeah.
Goldberry's just his trophy wife. Like,
yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh.
So Henry Cavill is going to beg for his life with Ungoliant.
Oh yeah.
Is he able of doing that?
Start with the awakening of the elves. Like, I'm thinking, like, literally the first shot would be like a front-facing shot of somebody waking up, maybe Skarsgård. But this is actually going to be paralleled towards the end, not towards the end, at the first Kinslaying, but also at the beginning of the next Silmarillion movie with the awakening of men.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so this begins with the awakening. We get a time jump in the middle there, and then onto because that's when Melkor gets captured, and then we get the story of Feanor, the Silmarils, and we conclude with the Oath of Feanor, with Feanor dying and making his son swear to retrieve the Silmarils.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? It's a hit.
Really?
So we're on to phase 3 of Breaking of Arda.
People be buying those Lego sets. The money's rolling in. What can we say?
Those are the two most depressing films ever. I can't imagine anyone wants to see more. Like, wow.
end game now, fellas.
Sorry, I just got to quickly interject. You're adapting Children of Hurin, but the execs say, nah, this is too dark. We need a Jar Jar Binks character in here. We need some comic relief. Who is your comic relief character in Children of Hurin? Do we have Glaurung step in the poopy? Okay, yeah, okay, Mim, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, he can pratfall and do, yeah. He's a little dwarf, like Dance Monkey Dance, like yeah, we'll just make him do all the sillies.
I got.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, go. Sorry.
We are on to the first Fall of Gondolin movie. Although Fall of Gondolin is not fair because this technically should just be called like the City of Gondolin or something. But we got the story of Eredel and Meglin. You know where and of course since Aol is such a massive piece of shit, I decided to cast Jared Leto.
Yes, fair. I love it.
We got Sophie Turner as Idril, and Jamie Campbell Bower, who, for those who have seen, I know he's in Twilight, and I know he's in Sweeney Todd, and he's going to be our Glorfindel, and I love that for him. And cool. Javier Bardem is Ulmo. I mean, come on.
And Sophie Turner's also here.
I already said that.
Yeah, she's.
Oh, and Barry Keoghan. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Barry Keoghan. Kean.
I'm not Irish.
Neither am I.
As Meglin. I've seen this guy play really sympathetic. I've seen this guy play a piece of shit. Meglin is both.
Mm-hmm.
Look!
Damn, Javier Bardem got fucking jacked. Jesus.
I know. I was going to say, look at him right there,
hitting that TRT bod right there. Jesus.
Sorry for the rush. Okay. Last Fall of Gondolin movie. Dan Stevens. Have either of you, as Tuor, have either of you seen the show Legion?
No.
I'm afraid not.
Anyone seen Legion? Well, he's great. He plays the main character in Legion. And as far as Gothmog, I mean, we got to bring back Andy. I mean, you know, he's the guy. He's the guy. Look at him. Look at him standing there with Jamie Campbell Bower on that clip. That's definitely him and not CGI.
I do like the idea of I was kind of going all sort of like George Lucas in my brain, like, right, I need 7 different unique designs for Balrogs, go. Like, because all of them that's
going to have to happen.
And then we need action figures of all of them. And yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, hell yeah.
All right. Final last 2 movies. Ruin of Beleriand. We're going. This is basically a bridge between Oath of Feanor and Baron and Luthien.
And we've got the Crimson Chin
only
as
real
Finrod.
additions to the cast are Finrod and Bera here, who is actually he was in the first Baron and Luthien anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What's
I love the idea of Colin Farrell playing Richard Madden's father.
Deadpool, right? Was he the villain in the first Deadpool movie? He was. Oh, it was
yes,
in.
He was.
He was Dario in
Francis.
season 3. He was the first Dario.
Dario Naharis.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
he's the first Dario Naharis.
Before they recast him with like just some guy.
And I'm pretty sure at this point. No. Wait, sorry. That's dialing back.
That's pretty pimp. Look at him riding that eagle.
Well, I mean I assume that's how he got there because that's the eagle. I forget. Thorondir,
wasn't it?
Thorondor.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, that's the eagle that's going to carry him away to after Morgoth came.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Do you have the picture? That's what.
God damn it. All right, I don't have time to get it.
Okay.
I got 1 movie left, and I will take questions when I get back.
Okay.
Sorry, Jason Momoa as Toolcats is a good one.
Yeah.
Come on. Jason
I do
Momoa
quite like that. The energy he would bring to it would be quite fun.
He's gonna headbutt Morgoth and go, oh
yeah.
right.
Well, what I do actually quite like is that you've picked wild people for the Valar, which does kind of make some sense.
Nicholson.
Like, you know, like having Brian Blessed and Jason Momoa as gods, it would kind of distance them from like normal people because they're so out there that I'm actually on board with that a bit more now.
Mm.
And so to cap it all off, we get the Voyage of Eärendil, which of course will cover the War of Wrath, which I also I know I haven't been talking directors, but since this is going to be written by somebody else, directed by Zack Snyder.
I can see that. I can see that.
Actually, I think Zack Snyder would film Eärendil coming into battle. Really, you know, the zoom-ins that he uses. Yeah. I think they would actually be quite effective for him coming in. I don't hate that as much as I thought.
Did anyone see that terrible fucking movie that he did called Sucker Punch?
Yes, I quite liked it.
There was the Lord of the Rings level, wasn't there? Where like the orcs and the castle and the dragons. Yeah. So yeah, he's got credentials. You know.
I think that's a good film. Chris.
I will be back in about 20, 30 minutes, guys.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay.
I'm just gonna turn off my camera and my.
That's okay. That's fine. So we have the 9-film structure there. What are our thoughts, Bathtime? And then we'll go into our pitches shortly after.
But I think it's unfair to do it without JX. But you've basically got the 4 big stories from the Silmarillion, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, one thing I was surprised with JX, I was convinced that he was going to use Dagor Dagorath to end his trilogy. So for those of you that don't know, is that the Silmarillion is basically just loads of stories kind of cobbled together, and the theme of it that runs throughout it is that everything is linked with the Silmaril, which I often think is the inspiration behind, I'm going to get this wrong, the Infinity Stones in Marvel. Like in some ways, you know, Feanor or Morgoth can be seen as a kind of Thanos figure trying to unite them. And Tolkien had one version based on Ragnarok, where essentially all of the mistakes of the past, you know, from people like Alpharazon to Feanor, all get redone, and Morgoth is finally defeated because at the end of the first stage, he's cast through the door of night and is prophesied to return. So I think that all in all, I think, you know, you've hit the major beats. You've decided to end where the Silmarillion ends with the Voyage of Eärendil. And, you know, it does the first stage nicely. My only real problem is that I think 3 and 4 and 5 are a bit too dark to have one after the other.
I'm not keen on it being told out of order, to be honest. Now, I know you could maybe argue that the MCU does that with some movies. You know, the first Captain America movie being set in the past, Captain Marvel as well, before everything else too. I think that would be I mean, the Silmarillion's already a tough nut to crack. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I think if you're trying to cater this to average Joe moviegoer, you kind of need beginning, middle, and end with this story in order to fully understand it and the quest that the Silmaril goes on and how everything ultimately comes to a head with the War of Wrath. So, I mean, I would probably
start. Like when you think about where do you start these films, I'm of the opinion that maybe you start after Morgoth, like Morgoth and Ungoliant drink the trees. I think because I suppose when you're looking at adapting the Silmarillion, it's like being given a book called The History of the World, adapt it, and you're like, right, we've got to do the Iliad and the Napoleonic Wars and make them make sense. Like there's so many shifts and things. I mean, the world is reshaped 3 times essentially in the first one. It's very, very difficult, and I think for an audience, you want to start with the most the kind of the easiest tale to understand. And for me, I think Beren and Luthien is probably your best bet to start this world. And I'm okay with going back in time, But if you present it as a soap opera, like, which, you know, if you have the Oath of Feanor running all the way to the mouth of the Sirion, where Rendil has to run away from the sons of Feanor and so on, I don't think you can mess with the timeline either. I think it needs to be consecutive, and even if you show different events from different people's angles, I don't think I don't think changing context does enough to what is a mythology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that's going to sort of tie into my pitch in a minute, where I've gone for sort of like a beginning, middle, and end, just telling the story in order of events. I guess now that JX isn't with us, as I say, he might sort of like dip in later on if he gets time. I think we're going to go with my pitch next, and then Bathtime, I think you're going to take us home with the ending, but this is going to sort of lead us on from what we were just talking about. So I'll just say as well, I've always wanted to do a stream like this. I don't think we've really talked about the Silmarillion specifically in depth before, so it's always been a really fun one, to sort of wrap my mind around. But my God, this was a lot of work to try and, I don't envy anyone the task, whoever is going to one day try and take this book and produce something from it, because it's very, very difficult. So, I mean, of course, I'd read the Silmarillion a bunch of times before. That doesn't mean you're going to withhold all of its information. I don't even know how many rereads I've done of it before, and every time I read it, I'm getting a little bit more. So I'm going to do my best. Okay, guys. So listening to it again in preparation for this, I thought, right, you can't adapt the entire thing, despite, JX says you can, with 9 movies, but I was thinking this has got to do what the Lord of the Rings did. It's got to get people invested in the story, but it's got to mostly cater to average Joe fans as well as the Lord of the Rings and the Tolkien fans. We had a Lord of the Rings trilogy. We had a Hobbit trilogy. So it was a no-brainer for me that we've got to take the Silmarillion. It also needs to be a trilogy. I think, you've had other films that have wanted to do a 5-film plan. I know the Fantastic Beasts movie was originally intended to be 5 films, and then everything kind of happened with that film, and they just kind of stopped it at 3. So I thought 3's like a safe bet, and you get the 3 separate trilogies across it. And then I was trying to look for a through line. What's sort of like the one core thing that binds everything together? When Peter Jackson was talking about making the theatrical cut versions of The Lord of the Rings, he was saying, does this scene feature Frodo, our protagonist, or does it further the story of the ring? And if it didn't, he'd cut that scene out, and obviously later added them back in for the extended edition. But I liked that he had to latch on to something in order to guide the story, and that for me is the namesake. It's the Silmarils, and specifically the Oath of Feanor and the tragedy that sort of echoes across time and millennia based on the decisions that are made there. So I am starting at the beginning. I want a prologue at the beginning of every single one of my trilogy films, which was an idea they were kicking around with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I know for Two Towers, they were considering opening also with a Galadriel prologue. That scene eventually got reworked into that bit where Elrond telepathically communicates with her later on in the movie, where she's talking about like the factions of Isengard and Mordor and whatnot. But I think with the Silmarillion, so much happens between the events of my trilogy that part of me is selfish. I want to see these events adapted onto the big screen. So that's why I'm using that opportunity to have the prologues for that. But also to kind of catch us up where the Sons of Feanor are, the biggest inciting incidents happen that further where the Silmarils are now and what's happening in the world. So movie 1, I'm just going to bring up the graphic real quick, is going to be The Flight of the Noldor, if I bring that up. So movie 1, The Silmarillion, The Flight of the Noldor. And this is actually quite interesting, because you mentioned this of where do you start movie 1? Because this goes biblical. This is the high fantasy era of the Silmarillion, and I completely acknowledge that. And I think out of all 3 movies, this was the toughest nut to crack, and I don't even know if I've cracked it, even though I'm about to pitch it. So the prologue, you want to cover the Ainulindalë, not in massive amounts of detail, because it's very...
Really?
Yes, yeah. Well,
really?
It's like Fantasia, isn't it? It's so abstract, but I'm not... Yeah. I'm just gonna say, in the beginning, there was Eru, and he created the earth, boom. And then centuries passed and the world is fashioned. It's going to be like 2 sentences. So we're not going to, sort of deep dive into it.
The way I thought about doing it was Tolkien has a a very stylistic art style. Well, it's a very when you look at his illustrations, like we've all seen Smaug and so on. We all know his maps and things. I've always thought that if you're going to do something as Genesis is basically what it is, the creation of the earth, that it might work with a kind of voiceover and obviously the music and so on in his art style. In the same way that, like, if you're doing the Odyssey or something like that, you would do it in that kind of Greek pottery art style. Like, I'm thinking of the opening of God of War 3,
Yes,
which is what I base a lot of my creative decisions on. But to go all the way to... So you're straight away introducing the idea that Melkor, as he was then, has corrupted the world.
Yes, yeah. We're not doing like the epic rap battle between Eru and more, like, we're skipping that. We'll just establish that there was a god who created the world, and the world, over years and years, millennia, the world was fashioned, and we'll see like mountains being raised and seas raging and whatnot. You need to. I'm sort of paralleling here in my mind anyway what the Fellowship prologue had to do, which is I would argue is one of the most pivotal scenes in the entire trilogy. It's so important because within 7 minutes, it has to cover thousands of years, hundreds and hundreds of years of information and showing us the journey of the ring. Now, I didn't want it to show sort of like the creation of the Silmarils at this point. The creation is the creation of the world, and it's also got to establish our big bad, like the prologue does with Sauron. So we establish that as Morgoth, and we see him, like wrestling with the gods or whatever. And ultimately, the prologue ends with his chaining, and then we pick up the story after that. So we see we establish our main villain. We see evil vanquished, similar to the prologue of Fellowship, and then we go into the story. Now, initially, I was thinking, do I want to show the creation of the Silmarils during this point, establish Feanor in the prologue, do the destruction of the two trees with Ungoliant, and have that incident almost be like the equivalent of the Last Alliance? But I thought, you miss out on so much of Feanor's story. And what I find fascinating about Feanor is that, I mean, this movie is going to be, it's going to be like Revenge of the Sith. It's the Shakespearean tragedy.
Yeah.
It's this dark anti-hero who makes a deal with the devil, basically becomes corrupted by him, and then you have the burning of the ships and everything, which is almost like your Order 66 kind of moment, I suppose.
It's the temple moment, isn't it? Where he kills the children. But I don't want to break your flow up. I was thinking about Feanor as well, and he's obviously one of the characters that looms the largest, like in Tolkien's world. What do you do about his birth? Because I think that's really important, that he sort of like absorbed his mum, essentially.
Well, what I wanted to do was, one of the most fascinating parts of Feanor is sort of the family struggle he has, how his father remarries, and he has half brothers, and there's always that resentment there. He's divided, he's sundered from the rest of his family, can't connect with them. I was actually thinking about maybe opening with his father's second marriage. Like, we're going to go straight up Godfather with this. We're going to open with a wedding.
Nice.
And then we can get some exposition out of the way. We can see Feanor maybe crafting the Silmarils. At his work, it mentions that his wife tries to like cool his spirit and to try and quell his rage a little bit. We can see his inner turmoil. We can maybe even flash back to his birth and the events of that to sort of get an inner working of the character. It really needs to be a character study. What? Sorry?
It's impossible. Like, when you one thing I've always rated about Jackson is he just made up the Lord of the Rings film as he went along. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think they planned the Fellowship, which is a very different film, as we discussed for the rest of it, but they kind of did it on the fly and almost saved it in the edit. And I now kind of think that you might need to just film everything and then stick it all together, because are you doing the story of Feanor or the tragedy of Feanor, or are you doing the tragedy of the Silmarils?
Across the trilogy, it will be the tragedy of the Silmarils, but we've got to show the creation, and this movie's really just establishing. Well, we'll get to so Act 1 really needs to establish the creation of the Silmarils themselves, and the inciting incident of Melkor manipulating Feanor and planting these ideas in his head. Ultimately, I was trying to think of an Act 2 low point, and I was thinking it's either got to be the destruction of the two trees or it's got to be the burning of the ships. I will say that I'm trying to envision all of these films as like a 4-hour movie with like the extended cut. So I was trying to think about that disc divide, how we need to end that first disc with like a big event. So the big event that happens is going to be Ungoliant attacking the two trees. That's going to be sort of like the big moment that caps off the end of disc 1, I suppose.
Okay.
And they're going to swear, and we're going to end with the oath of Feanor closing that end of disc 1. And then I guess we pick up the next one. You can infer there's been a time jump between discs. Then you start to have the mass exodus of the Noldor, the flight of the Noldor themselves, and the burning of the ship. So we are going to be speed running this, but that's just the necessity of it's all got to be in one movie. So we are having
speed running the kinslaying.
Well, I'm not saying it needs to be done in 2 minutes. It can be a big scene, but I mean, we've also got to get to our third act. This isn't going to be the third act.
I'm not criticizing you because I've thought about how to do this, and I think when you look at things like the idea that the light of the two trees remains only in the eyes of the elves, but also the Silmarils, and how there are elves later that are born who haven't seen the light, and the ones that stayed and things. The importance of it grows, but then also you've got just how, in some ways, the kinslaying is similar to something that happens in Greek mythology in the House of Atreus, where the gods are fed like the bodies, or it's like they're fed human bodies, and it's the most disgusting, out of order thing that has ever happened, and it's if you're doing an Act 2, like low point, as you put it, one of those two things has to be stressed more than the other, which is that the Silmarils are the last things that contain the light of the trees, or it's the utter, the kinslaying is generally the worst thing that happens, and then just how it's a betrayal and how Feanor has lost himself. And so on. It's honest. I don't envy you picking this one because it's so hard.
This is why I was thinking, like, how much information do I contain in the prologue? Because I totally see that, and it's almost like, you have two big, massive, inciting incidents where all hope is lost, and to have those happen right after one another. The issue is if you have the destruction of the trees with Ungoliant as sort of like the end of your prologue, the last alliance equivalent, if I'm comparing it to Fellowship of the Ring, you miss out on masses of like the family drama and what makes Feanor tick and why he acts the way that he does. You're sacrificing a huge chunk of character, because you could do something similar to like the Hobbit's prologue in Unexpected Journey, saying that these gems were crafted and Feanor become very covetous, almost like the dragon sickness stuff with Thror and everything that happened at Erebor. Like, you could do that, and then you could take place where he's getting ready to leave immediately as the film starts, but we don't really know Feanor as a character at that point. That was the issue I was finding with it. You have you have the burning of the ships, and then when he touches down, you have the battle under the stars, I believe it's called, where he's immediately beset by orcs. That's going to be a small skirmish, and then we're going to go straight onto our third act action scene. That's where Feanor, blinded by rage, decides to take Morgoth head on and heads towards Angband, and that's where you have your big bombastic fight with the Balrogs and Feanor's beset on all sides and everything. What I do really like is the final shot. Like, I've got the final shot of what I want. It's where Feanor dies and he's surrounded by his sons, and I believe he curses Morgoth 3 times as the sons look towards the 3 peaks of Thangorodrim, saying, this has started something now. And that's ultimately the root of all evil right there, is Thangorodrim. And I can imagine almost like an ending of Two Towers, where the camera pans up to the desolate wastes and then we fade to black, and then we go to credits. I can see that ending.
I really like that, especially if you include the Aindala, the singing bit at the start, because I think one thing that's really important, like there's lots of important things, but to Joe Layman, like watching the film, who's he's just brought his sons to watch some action film. One of the key things I think has to go in is the power behind words and oaths, and so the Oath of Feanor it's got to be like a prison. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's kind of like, I was getting annoyed about this idea of Master of Doom earlier, but it's by doing that he's creating the Doom in terms of the fate of Morgoth, but also of his sons and also of the elves in general, like the Noldor in general, and it's obviously going to lead to Eärendil and so on. But I now am convinced that your prologue does have to be the singing in order to like just say how important song and word is for this to come across. But I don't envy whoever tries to make this film, because it is a bit. You're basically doing a Feanor biopic, really, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to do it.
As I say, like the issue I'm having is I completely see that Ungoliant probably needs to be the last alliance, bit in there, but then you do sacrifice unless you can get a lot of that stuff that's happened before through exposition. You don't want it to be too exposition heavy, though. You need to sow the animosity he has with his half brothers and whatnot, even though they do sort of form unlikely alliances at some points throughout his story. That needs to be there. It'd be cool to get the stuff in with the mother as well.
Do you think a TV show is better suited?
Well, when they initially announced Rings of Power, I was like, hell yeah, let's go. This is the way to do it. And, in the right hands, absolutely. Yeah.
I think television is a better medium for, but anything that's not a great tale, except for Children of Hurin, which is very episodic, and it's very, there's different stages to Turin in those, in what he goes through. But like Feanor, it feels like a 200-year, just like Napoleon or something. It's a tragic story where he makes all the mistakes and he gets so many people around him killed, and it's so difficult to make him a sympathetic character for me. I know in Tolkien world, some people love him and some people hate him, but we all agree he's not a sympathetic character, and he is kind of the Melkor of the elves.
That's a great comparison. Yeah, I was thinking like it needs to be some kind of Citizen Kane type character study, or Anakin from Revenge of the Sith is probably like the biggest comparison here.
Yeah,
I mean, Palpatine being Morgoth, whispering in his ear and corrupting him and turning against his own, and then ultimately being consumed by fire by his own folly at the end. It's all
born in fire, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yes, the flame of his being, his personality, ultimately consuming his mother as well. So that would be movie one. We need to work out some kinks in there. It's a lot. The next one.
That's a very good effort, Chris. Like you've thought through it.
I'm trying.
I think what I also like about it is the move east. Like the constant movement across it. I think it's like, because in your prologue, the one thing you're missing that I actually spent a lot of time thinking about is the actual map, because I think we all love that, the zoom into the Shire across the sort of 3D map and stuff. And so I was at one stage thinking about Feanor, if I'd have a kind of Indiana Jones.
Oh yes, yeah.
I love it. Line going across.
No, you'd have Emperor's New Groove, you'd have Feanor's line, and then you'd have Dolphin's line. Oh, for fuck's sake, I've got to go over the Helcarax and like try and head him off.
It's Bombadil just randomly whizzing out.
No, I love that. That'd be great. So yeah, I need to work out some kinks with movie one. But anyway, movie two is going to be much more conventional. Movie two, of course, we have Beren and Luthien. I was trying to think of what is the next stage of the Silmarillion? When I was listening to the audiobook again, there are so many stories in between and everything, you know, great stuff like, as we mentioned, like Mithros, you know, being chained up and him being rescued and his hand being cut off. All really cool cinematic stuff that could easily be a movie in themselves. But I was listening to it thinking, right, does the Silmaril feature in this? Is this really furthering anything to do with that story? And I think the next big chapter that does that is, of course, Beren and Luthien. I think this would be a much more easier film to make. I think this would bring in more of the normies to this one, who are just fans of the Lord of the Rings. Clear, obvious parallels there with Aragorn and Arwen, of course. I was trying to think of the prologue for this one, and I was thinking, you know, it needs to pertain to stuff that's going to happen within this movie. So we need to sort of get a lay of the land where the elves are now. A lot of time has passed since before. I was thinking we need to see that moment where Barahir comes to Fingon's aid and the giving of the ring of Barahir. That's going to be one of the main
to link
sort of
it to
tokens.
Aragorn.
Yeah. Because we do get that extended scene in the Two Towers where it really focuses on that ring for some reason, where Grima goes to Saruman and he opens the book, and we get like the Wikipedia article reading through the lore about it. I'm thinking, oh, great. Well, we can take that moment, we can create a film about it so that when we come back to Two Towers, because all of these movies are linking together, we've got a little bit of history of that. So not only have we got the Aragorn and Arwen stuff, we've got specifically the ring and its significance. And then because we've established Fingolfin in the first movie, in the prologue, I've got to have that moment. You know, it's going to be, again, like The Last Alliance and Morgoth.
In the prologue?
Yeah, I'm thinking
it's so
yeah.
epic, though.
I know, man. I know, but it's...
Right, I'm going to give it to you. You've made a hard choice because it's one of the greatest... It's one of the things everyone would most like to see on screen. Maybe actually just... I don't know if people... I'll be honest, I'm not an expert on the Silmarillion, but maybe people don't know what actually you're talking about here with what happens.
Yeah, it's where Fingolfin challenges Morgoth to single combat. He essentially rocks up to the doors of Angband itself, calls him out, and goes like, "Oi, let the Lord of the Black Land come forth. I'm going to kick your ass right here, right. I take it outside, boy." And what I love as well is it really shows how cowardly Morgoth is.
Yes.
You know, he's a lord when he's shrouded by his walls and his armies, but when he's directly called out, I feel like he has to almost appease Fingolfin just for the sake of his orcs, because a lot of them are like, you know, is this really our Lord and Savior Morgoth? Is he going to be this, you know? So he goes out there, but I love that line. It's one of my favorite lines in the book where he calls him out, and then it's one of the shortest sentences I want to say in the entire Legendarium, and Morgoth came. It's just like, I imagine that moment in The Last Alliance where Gladriel's like, but the power of the ring, dun, dun, could not be undone. Dun, dun. Like, I can imagine that huge hulking monolithic armored up. We've got Grond, which I really want. This is a side note. I really want the pommel of his warhammer to look like Grond, the battering ram in
flame coming out of it.
Yes, yeah, why not? And yeah, you're right. It is so epic. It's one of the most epic set pieces, I think, in the entire book. But man, that's not it's not the story we're telling. We've got to get to the Silmarils. you
got to include permanent limp. The 7 times he strikes him down, and so on. And it's one of the important parts of this, though, that I think will relate to this story is up until then, Morgoth. So Melkor got imprisoned, and then he was called Morgoth as a sort of curse, and so on. Like, that became his horrible nickname. This is the first time we see real weakness. That
God can bleed. It's like Xerxes at the end of 300. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And I think, and that's so important to Beren's arc.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was also thinking, I mean, I know you have all the stuff with the outlaws at the beginning. I mean, the prologue's already covering enough. I mean, you could just literally start the story with Beren sort of, you know, running through the glen.
100%, and her dancing.
Yeah.
And just 100%. Because let's be honest, Beren and Luthien is without question going to be the film that Jackson is going to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was tough about this one as well is that I mean, it's a very, very long story. I do think that JX probably has the better idea of splitting this into two. There is a clear divide. You have like your big altercation with Sauron as your end of movie one, and then you have your big altercation with
The rap
Morgoth.
battle.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I do think there is a way to get it into one movie. It's tough. A bold thing that I was thinking about doing with this one is removing Sauron altogether, which I know isn't
I like it,
popular
actually.
opinion. It keeps it focused on Morgoth for this trilogy, because
Yeah.
otherwise you have Sauron who shows up midway through movie 2 and then never features again, not in the rest of the movie. I was thinking, could you replace that scene with Sauron with Morgoth, even though it wouldn't really make any sense?
It's not our Sauron either. Like, it's
Yeah.
our Sauron is the Sauron Second Age. And even after like becoming even after he's lost the ability to get a fair form and stuff, this is a bit like The Simpsons or something, where you see a character where they haven't quite got the drawing down properly. Do you know what I mean? I think obviously Sauron is going to be in the Jackson version, but one of the issues that I have with the Jackson verse is how Sauron is presented as Morgoth a lot of the time, certainly with the armor and so on. And I think it actually diminishes Morgoth's role in this if you put in the one we all know as the great bad. You see him as the big threat, and Morgoth is this sleepy, like, you know, because you've already seen him get humiliated essentially in his duel. So I'm with you on that. I think that's a brave decision, but the right one.
It's tough because I really want to see that scene, you know, like as crazy and out there as it is, you know, steeped in like old folklore and mythology and whatnot. It'd be like Van Helsing, wouldn't it? Like Sauron transforming into a werewolf, and then Dracula, and then a serpent, I think, at one point. Like it's a cool thing to sort of visualize, but I think also removing that scene, because I mean it is a huge scene. If you want to do that scene justice, that could be like a 20-25 minute big third act action set piece. There's also the issue with adapting Beren and Luthien, that there are a lot of repetitive moments throughout the story which I think wouldn't play well, at least in terms of one film. You have a lot of moments where Beren gets in trouble and Luthien rescues him, and then it happens again and again and again, like constantly throughout the story.
It's like the Hobbit, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and also there's this whole, you know, the prophecy of Huon will fight the greatest wolf there is, and you have him fight the is it Draugluin, I think is the name, or something like that. You have him fight the chief of the werewolves who he kills. And then Sauron transforms into a giant werewolf, an even bigger werewolf, and you're like, "Oh, okay, is this the one?" And then Sauron's bested, and then we have another fight with So it's like you're gonna have.
It's also having a talking dog. Like the idea that he can only talk a certain amount of times and stuff is, once again, one of the big issues with setting this in the Peter Jackson world, which all of us have done, like whether subconsciously or not, all got prologues and. Think like we're very heavily influenced by Marvel and Peter Jackson. Basically, it's so difficult to get the folk elements of this in, like talking, like, you know, talking animals is essentially, that's what a fable is, where an animal can talk and so on. And you got to remember that Tolkien was calling like elves gnomes and things at the time and stuff. And it's you've got to be so consistent that I actually wouldn't be against removing this element of Huon talking and Sauron having a sort of a battle of songs, because it's a bit like Harry Potter. How do you kind of show it, or to be interesting, like, you know, visually interesting, because it's something that we conjure in our minds when we read it. And once again, we understand, because the Eilundelay, forgive my pronunciation, we understand the power of words, but that's in book form. And how do you do that on the only time I've ever seen it done well is maybe in Dune with the
Shai-Hulud, the
women that are basically Jedi, and they
the voice,
Hazar Karat or something. Like, I think that's really well done. But it's just one little trick. So when you have like Luthien squaring off against Sauron, it's epic when you read it, but how do you show it on screen. But these are big problems, I feel, and I'm really interested to see how Jackson solves these, because I'm convinced that Beren and Luthien is the film everyone wants to see and is the best one to make.
Yeah. And we know Peter Jackson's aversion to having talking animals. You know, he doesn't have the eagles speak or anything like that. You talked about his Lord of the Rings trilogy being very grounded, which it absolutely is. And I think that's what helped sell it to the mass audience as well. It wasn't too crazy out there. It was just grounded enough and heightened and whatnot. Even in The Hobbit, we don't have like the talking thrush or anything like that, or any of the speaking animals in that. There was even a point where he wasn't going to have Smaug talk, believe it or
really?
not. When he was crafting the idea, there's like animatics they did where Smaug was, when Bilbo put the ring on, that would be, he'd hear like this telepathic voice sort of coming from Smaug's mind. He'd be saying all these words, but his mouth wouldn't be moving. It was like a telepathic connection they tried. But when they animated it, they said it just didn't look right, because he thought like moving lips on a dragon with the snout wouldn't really work.
Does Beorn speak in the book as in his wolf form?
Oh, it was a bear, sorry, Beorn.
A bear, sorry.
Yeah. I don't believe he does. No. I think I think they definitely make him more. They make him more of a werebear, I think, in the films. Like, it's not really apparent how much consciousness he still, maintains when he's a bear, when he ferociously chases them. Yeah.
Imagine having Smaug not talk.
I know, it's insane, isn't it?
All the stuff he does with Radagast.
Yeah, I know. And actually, he does kind of have the bird speak to Radagast. Like,
he does, right at the beginning.
Journey. Yeah.
And have you seen the clip that came out of Jackson recently talking about his postman?
Yes, yeah, valid, so valid.
Well, I think that actually might be a driving part of why he's going to try and adapt stuff, is he doesn't want to go out on The Hobbit and twirly whirlies and so on. But so are you trying to remove the high fantasy from Beren and Luthien, or it's such a tough question, because it's something all of us have had to deal with this week.
The issue I've got is Fingon being in there, like, because I've established the whole passing of the Ring of Barahir, and I like him fulfilling that oath, and I was actually envisioning that moment with Sauron being the second act low point, is the death of a beloved character in Finrod. Bringing in his oath about the ring and fulfilling, because he has a doom on him as well, doesn't he? I think that when Beren shows up and requests his aid, I don't know if this has been prophesized to him, he's like, my end is nigh, basically. So, but then if you have that, you've got to have Sauron in there, and it's really difficult. JX brings up a point. He says, I would say showing the old big bad subservient to the new big bad emphasizes the new guy's big badness. That could be valid. I did see a funny comment though on a Beren and Luthien video where it was explaining the story, and one of the top comments was, so Sauron was beaten by a dog?
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah. So it's like, I would actually have Huon speaking, but I would have that be like a telepathic communication. If you've seen Princess Mononoke with like the mother wolf kind of character who does talk but doesn't move the mouth, it's like,
I'm thinking Lion King, where like Simba's dad is on a cloud. He's not speaking, but you sort of hear his voice.
Yeah, like this ethereal voice. Yeah, that could work too. So for right now, I have got Sauron in there. I've got the the death of Finrod being Act 2, and now might not be the best comparison, but it's the only comparison I've got. I'm envisioning the ending of this movie plus the first scene of Battle of Five Armies. I'm imagining Desolation of Smaug leading into the fire and water sequence from Battle of the Five Armies as the ending of this film. So go with me on this. It's an infiltration. It's this stealth mission. We've got Morgoth, who's the Smaug equivalent. It's inside information, basically. We're there to get a jewel. We can't wake anything up. We're sneaking in. I think that could work so perfectly if done well on screen as well.
I've always pictured it as a film I've never seen, which I know that you've seen. This is based solely on the video cover of The Black Cauldron, where it's I know exactly, it's everyone's asleep. It's kind of Davy Jones's Locker, isn't it? Where they take the key, and it's I like the idea of taking a very fantasy fairy tale aspect of everyone falling asleep to a song, and them sort of creeping in. But you have to worry about the cartoonishness of it. Like, it's got to be high tension. I think Jackson will do it brilliantly.
Yeah, the sound as well. Like, there's the moment where Luthien sings to Morgoth. Well, there's that moment, but there's the bit where you've got to make it not funny, but where he like slumps off the throne and falls prone on the floor. But I can imagine that just like echoing across the chamber. But yeah, specifically with the knife, where Beren gets kind of greedy, doesn't he? And he goes back to the second Silmaril. And I can imagine, like, I don't know if I want to do slow motion, but it breaking off. Panic looks on them all. Everyone in the audience goes like, and you hear it like chink on the floor, and you're almost like, is everything okay? Is everything okay? Can we get out of here? So yeah, I think that moment is like your inside information. You don't want to wake the dragon, essentially.
Are you going to try and mirror anything from the prologue in the first film, in terms of the slumping of Morgoth, where like he obviously gets knocked down 7 times, and it's always something I've thought that kind of rhymes, is that he gets once again, he kind of gets defeated by Eru Ilúvatar with the sort of discord of the song. He gets overwhelmed by song again, and I like the idea of all of those 2 prologues then both coming together, like, you know, sort of visually, as it were, stylistically in this scene.
Yeah,
or is that just a coincidence I've come up with?
Coincidence, but it's
nice,
cool
but
that you're picking up on that. Yeah, no, exactly. If it works, it works. So, yeah, I mean, then if we're comparing it to Desolation of Smaug, there's the moment where everything kicks off. Everyone's stirred. Smaug is awakened, and Bilbo and everything. Then, of course, we get all the bullshit over the top. We've got to try and drown him in molten gold and everything like that. But then if we imagine the actual ending of Desolation of Smaug, which should be fire and water, the actual Desolation of Smaug, leading into that, you have them escape, and then you have Karkaroth that goes nuts, essentially. Now, we are going to have to speed run this, because I know there's probably like a massive geographical distance. So we're going to have them rushing back to Thingol and just saying, like, the wolf is loose, like, we need to go. So we do have to speed run that a little bit, because that's sort of like our main third act action scene, the equivalent of fire and water, or I guess the equivalent of the molten gold scene from Desolation of Smaug. So the actual infiltration and the moment where Karkaroth, they have the fight and everything, that is going to be pretty close together. But that's just down to the fact of when you're condensing something for a third act, it's all got to sort of play out within that moment. So I think you have that good rising tension, that building tension with the infiltration to get the Silmaril, and then you have your big third act scene, which is like your big wolf fight. And then you have your falling action, which is the death of Beren. Everyone's sad. Everyone cries. You have her, pleading to Mandos. And then you have you have a happy ending, which is nice. I was thinking about the second part of a trilogy usually has to be the darkest. So you're going to see a little discrepancy that I have at the beginning of the third film when I was trying to think what the prologue for the third film could be. And I've got an idea for it. I'm not exactly sure if I'm 100% with it, but I think moving that to the end of this film would just be like, what are we doing now? This isn't Beren and Luthien. We're going way past it. So I'd probably end it with like the happy but bittersweet ending that they are mortal. They are happy together, but yeah, kind of like the Elrond scene, where it's like, there is nothing for you here, only death. And let me tell you this very poetic way about how your days are essentially numbered.
Well, are you going to, because it's always a difficult one. Like, we are massive nerds, so we understand that like the quest given to Beren is very, very similar in terms of just how impossible it is as the quest given to Aragorn, to unite 2 kingdoms and take down Sauron. And that's the only way to kind of to get the girl. When I was thinking of this, I wouldn't actually mind a kind of cliched framing device of Bilbo and Elrond talking about this story, because one of the things that I really like, and I think it's very pertinent these days, is the Silmarillion is essentially written by Bilbo in Elamdris, in Rivendell.
Yes. Yeah.
And the idea that the Lord of the Rings is kind of an unreliable narrator, that there's different versions of it and so on. And we know from my favourite chapter, The Council of Elrond, that Bilbo is such a bullshitter. And he's told so many different stories and he's exaggerated things and so on. And I think that when you make changes to the story to make them more logical or more consistent, you can argue that you're not changing Tolkien's work, you're changing Bilbo Baggins' his work. But I think that with the Ring of Barahir, which in my opinion should feature much more in the Rings of Power, it's one of the things that really, there's only like 4 or 5 objects that really go all the way through the story. You've got the Elisar, Glamdring, Orcrist, Sting, and the Ring of Barahir that basically go all the way through. And I think that for an audience, you need to spell these things out rather than do it like that. So with Beren and Luthien, I think you need really strong parallels to Aragorn and Arwen, and also to Elrond. Because he's a complete dickhead in the films compared to the books and so on. And it's like it's a tough one. Personally, I'd love it just to be one film, but I think you're right. I think it's got to be 3 films. And then you've got the hardest question for me, which I have to answer in my own film in a bit, is how do you do the Halls of Mandos and the idea? Because I've got the complete opposite. I've got a man becoming immortal, and you've got an elf becoming immortal, becoming mortal. Is it seen as a celebration? Is it seen as a tragedy? Like, how do you? What tone are you putting on Beren and Luthien die together, essentially?
I'd say it's a happy ending. It's your traditional fairy tale. It's someone's presumed dead, and it's either the kiss of life or just right in that last moment when all hope seems lost. Beauty and the Beast, and then he comes back to life, and they live happily ever after for, a numbered amount of days, but they get to be together. How would I depict it on screen? You're not going to like my comparison. Have you ever seen Transformers:
Matrix.
Revenge of the Fallen? Oh, okay. I guess
off.
you know that bit where he goes to robot heaven and the Prime's sending back. It's like, this is why you were born, Sam Witwicky. You must take the all spark and resuscitate Optimus.
Are you making
always
fun
been
of
your
me?
destiny.
Sam Witwicky goes to robot heaven.
He gets shot at. Yeah, at the end of the second one, he gets shot at by Megatron, and Megan Fox is acting, and she's like, "Live, damn it, live! I love you, Sam." And they're trying to like resuscitate him, and he's not coming back. Then we flash to like blinding, not oversaturated. What do you call it? Where it's like the white is overexposed. Yeah. It's like overexposed white.
Low opacity Elrond.
Yeah. And then you can make out like these sort of like monolithic shapes of the old order of primes. And it's like, you have fought for Optimus, our last living descendant. This is your destiny. This is what you were put on this earth to do, Sam. So we send you back now. Take the Allspark and resuscitate Optimus and fulfill your destiny. And then he comes back. He jumpstarts awake. Something like that. I don't know.
Wow. I mean, I'm just thinking Matrix, because I like the idea of Beren going, "You're the one."
Yes.
Something.
Yeah.
Luthien, sorry.
Yeah.
I love you, or whatever, or an oath. It's honestly, mate, these stories are so hard to adapt.
I know. Yeah. And another thing as well that like sort of helping me arrive at the decision of maybe removing Sauron, but again, like the Finrod thing's difficult, is that you've also got to get the 2 Feanor sons in there. Curufin and the other one. I keep forgetting their name. I keep getting it confused with Saruman's like elvish name or whatever. But you have you have like the Leap of Beren, which it says was one of like the most renowned things ever, where they're like chasing him down. I personally think that's way more personal and important to the story to have that moment, and because you can't have a second movie and not feature the Sons of Feanor when we've established them in movie 1, especially that sort of like haunting ending that this oath is going to literally haunt them and the rest of the events. To not have them in movie 2, like you've got to have that middle chapter.
They're kind of secondary antagonists in some way.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
That's what puts the pressure on, is that there's another rival crew. Going after it, and
I don't think you can have Morgoth. I don't think you can have Morgoth and the Wolf and Sauron and the werewolves and the Sons of Feanor. I think that's just going to get too much, to be honest. So
you have to do it like the Odyssey, I think, where you just get like these sort of self-contained scenes of like a Cyclops, and then you go here and you go there. So it's much more of a quest narrative, but there's so many issues with it, and the biggest one for me is how I think everyone understands it's the most personal story to Tolkien in the Legendarium, to the degree that like Beren is written on his gravestone. Like that is, how much of it, just how it is. And the idea, I mean, I've heard someone make the argument that the idea about like someone like men and elves being immortal and things is based on the age difference between him and his wife, and how like how out of time they kind of were. Because he was the age gap like 12 years or something like that between him and his wife? I'm not sure if
it was that much. I know it was. I mean, there was a gap. There was definitely a gap there. There was also
this gap is more pronounced in the past as well.
Yeah,
like she would have expected to be married at 22 or whatever.
Well, he fell in love with her, I think, when he was at university, didn't he? But I think that
war got in the way. That's why you can't get married during times of war.
Well, there was that, and I think it was also, no, Tolkien, you need to focus on your studies. Like, you can't be wasting your time with romance. So he had to sort of graduate, basically. And when he graduated, he found that she was engaged to someone else. And then he professed his love for her, and then she called off the engagement with the other guy and then got with Tolkien. So
it's a wicked story, isn't it?
You could think about like the overcoming the father or the guardian, like
exactly
winning the honor of Thingol and proving your worth as a man. And
it's that, and that's what I mean. Is that like I personally think the Silmarillion isn't really meant for our consumption. I think it's Tolkien's. I mean, like he has like there are so many different bloody elves. Because he had a couple of languages he wanted to show off. And it's a Bible. I'm of the opinion that you can't adapt it without sweeping changes around time for the first age. The second age is a completely different story. And I think that actually can be done a lot easier. And it annoys me that the Rings of Power has completely messed this all up. Because I personally think the Akalabeth and the War of the Rings would be the best way for Jackson to do this film would be to end at the prologue of Lord of the Rings. That's how it should be, and I don't know if you can do that with the Rings of Power now.
I think that's where the show's leading to be honest. I think it's going to try and get there, but except Galadriel will be part of the Last Alliance now. She'll be the one to actually cut the ring from Sauron's hand, probably. And then she'll like snog Elrond as well.
But what? And then go into Beyonce's, you should have put a ring on it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You see the Hobbit Kilgorn's into that.
I've had a comment from a certain Tate who says, "What AI program did you use for your most recent videos?" I'm going to try and pronounce this, Hailuo AI. That's Hailuo AI. It's pretty good. It's pretty decent. There's lots of different capabilities on there, constantly evolving. They're always adding new little specifications and whatnot, which cost way too many credits.
Copyright restrictions, though, on some of the updates.
Yeah, that's right.
Boys, just use RunPod.
What's this?
RunPod. You just rent a GPU and use like WAN 2.2 and do it that way. You'll be like with like the sort of high-end closed models. Those should be for finishing. If you're running out of credits and stuff, the best way to do these things is to rent a GPU online and just grind through the donkey work. And then when you get close to what you want, then use your credits on the big boy models. In my opinion.
Right, I'm going to try and speed run this now because I know I've been going for quite a long time. I'm going to get to the third and final movie, which is The War of Wrath. I mean, I think we all
wow.
Yeah, but I had to get this picture. I mean, isn't that just one of the most breathtaking artworks you've ever seen of anything Tolkien related. I just see that's the Zack Snyder right there. That's the cinematography we want from that scene right there.
And Calagon should be bigger. You should just see his eyes.
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine, I mean, not a great movie, but I like some of the cinematography in it. You know, Gareth Edwards' first Godzilla movie, that sense of scale.
100% in terms of the Balrogs, that's been my visual reference, where you don't really see Godzilla fighting the big moth or whatever it is that he's fighting. Yeah, like the airport attack on Hawaii is the one.
Oh, where we cut away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about the bit from the trailer as well, where they airdrop in, don't they?
Yeah, with the red
and they're
smoke
falling past him, and like it could be like a part of his shoulder, like you don't know. It's just he's so enormous within the frame. I feel like they've, not a side note on the Godzilla movies, the American-made ones. I feel like they've lost that sense of scale now. They've basically become MCU movies, but that first one, amazing. So if they could bring that sense of scale.
The other shot that I think should influence that is from the Two Towers, where Gandalf charges down the hill with the Rohirrim. I like with Arendelle sort of like coming on the clouds as a wave, but with the idea of that light being what sort of blind, because you've got the light, you've got the fires of Angband and all the wee dragons whizzing about for the first time and stuff. And I think when he comes down the hill, it's always reminded me of Arendelle arriving to what's called relieve the siege.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I thought this one would be smooth sailing, no pun intended, with this movie. I thought, right, I have been tearing myself apart over the flight of the Noldor. Beren and Luthien, mostly there. Some little tricky bits with Sauron, whether we keep him or not. This one, I thought, oh, well, this is a done deal, isn't it? Easy. You just end with your big post-apocalyptic endgame-like battle. And then when I was listening to the book, I thought, shit, we need to explain how the Silmarils are here now. That's my main thrust of the story, the core of the story. And there's actually like some big inciting incidents that happen involving the Silmarils. Because last time we saw it, like Thingol had one and was just chilling with it, in his place. And then how all of a sudden do we get to where we get to? Well, to truncate a lot of stuff in the book, there's the moment where Húrin is released and he goes to Nargothrond and he kills Mim. He takes the Nauglamir, which ties in with Finrod as well. And then he takes it back to Thingol and he throws it at his feet and he says, this is payment for, harboring my son essentially and let him stay here. Complete broken man. Thingol then covets it, and then the dwarves, because they made the Nauglamir necklace, want recompense for it. They believe it belongs to them. It all kicks off. There's a Julius Caesar style murder of Thingol within his halls. And then there's a lot of back and forth. The dwarves start taking the Nauglamir away, and then it's reclaimed by the elves and given back to Melian. She sends it to Beren and Luthien, and then they eventually send it in a coffer to Dior, who's their son. And I was losing my mind over this. I was thinking, oh my God, this is another movie's worth of stuff. If I need to explain who Húrin is, and now we're doing all of that. And
dwarves as well. They haven't been in anything so far, have they? And now they play a crucial role.
Exactly. And then I was thinking, oh my God. And then that kind of leads to the fall of Gondolin. And I thought, right, okay, so what I've settled on with my prologue is that, how the prologue of Return of the King immediately establishes a tone. I know the prologue in Return of the King was originally going to be within Two Towers. It was going to show the backstory of Smeagol during that moment in the Dead Marshes. Eventually they moved it to Return of the King, which I think was a great decision because it's so dark and so menacing, but also parallels the struggle that Frodo's going through. And we can see where Frodo to the extreme might end up by the end of this film. So I wanted something really dark and menacing, this sense of things passing, an age sort of fading. And we have Thingol, who's been a big part in the second movie. I feel like we need to see his death because he was like a big pivotal character. He is going to die in a prologue, though, which I'm not keen on. But we need to get to Eärendil and the voyage, right? But we also need to explain what's happened, because another big thing is that two of the sons of Feanor die during this moment as well, who were in that second movie. Also, we need to tie up their threads as well. We are seeing the waning of the Oath of Feanor as they're all essentially dying and being consumed by this oath one by one. So I feel like the big action scene needs to be, we need to show the death of Thingol in like this Julius Caesar style thing. And then I'm actually going to, I'm going to cut out Hurin altogether. We're just going to open with Thingol, who has the Nauglamir. We can just say, you know, it was given to him. We can allude to something else. We don't have to mention Hurin, because that's a rabbit hole. That's a snowball effect that's just going to absolutely ruin the flow of these movies. We see him getting stabbed. Unfortunately, I think that's going to draw parallels to the beginning of season 2 of Rings of Power, where Sauron is basically Julius Caesar by all of the orcs. And then I'm going to skip it going to Beren and Luthien. And then I'm just going to say, you know, it passed to the son of Beren and Luthien, Dior, who have Elwing, who's going to be crucial for the rest of the film. I'm not going to show the fall of Gondolin at all. I was thinking, could I show that in the prologue? I'm like, nah, that's a third act of a movie right there. I can't be doing that in a prologue. So it's really just going to show the death of the two sons of Feanor, the death of Thingol, and ultimately where, you know, I guess like Elwing escaping the conflict. Then we begin properly. We can open on the seas of Eärendil sailing, and he's amazing and wonderful. I think there's actually some extra stories in Unfinished Tales which talk about his travels and whatnot. But yeah, the main thing is going to be him voyaging into the West. We're bringing the gods back into it, who we established in movie 1, who weren't present in the second movie. So it's that sense of bookending. We're coming to the end now. You know, he makes their plea, and I think the rest of the film, in terms of this one's pretty conventional up until this point. You can still cut to Morgoth marshalling his troops, that he's preparing his final assault with the dragons and everything. And then your third act is the War of Wrath. Now that's very difficult to depict. It's this huge tectonic shifting thing where the world is literally changed. So much of the world sinks beneath the waves, changes the actual geography of the map itself. Now, I asked JX this. I was thinking, well, a lot of people live in Beleriand, so how come they didn't all die? And of course, the War of Wrath actually takes place over decades. A lot of them did, but it also takes place over decades. So people had enough time to, you know, migrate and get their asses over to Middle Earth. I can't really show a 10-year-long battle for a third act of a movie. It's all got to be immediate. It's all got to take place. So, you know, your big inciting incident is going to be Eärendil taking down Ancalagon. Ancalagon's probably going to be your big bad. It's going to end with the chaining of Morgoth and being sent into the void. Now, the issue is it's going to be a Return of the King thing, because that is your destruction of the One Ring right there on Sauron. But then this is going to be like your Scouring of the Shire, but you need this because the main story is Maithros and Maglor and the fate of the Silmarils, where they sneak in the dead of night, don't they? And they steal back the Silmarils, and it's, you know, one casts it into the fiery chasm along with themselves, and then one throws it into the sea, I believe, doesn't he? And they sort of like go their separate ways, and it's all ultimately the tragedy of that story. That's where it needs to end. So it will have to carry on. So I don't know if the War of Wrath is essentially going to be like a parallel to Pelennor Fields, how it's a huge, big, dramatic action scene, but then we need to carry on a little bit and have a little bit more of an action scene like the Black Gate and the Sons of Feanor and whatnot. And yeah, that's basically that's going to be the movie, I guess. You've also got Elrond in there, of course, and his brother Elros. So that's also a tie into the Lord of the Rings movies. We're essentially getting Elrond the origin story with this one, like young Hugo Weaving. I've always found it fascinating how, you know, they get to make the choice, don't they? The whole family, of whether they remain mortal or whether they choose the path of the elf. I've always wondered why Elrond's brother chose to be with man. I don't know whether that's outlined somewhere, because they get kidnapped, don't they, by one of the sons of Feanor. Say that again, sorry?
Someone had to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, why did Susan not get to go to heaven? Because you kind of had to have one of them do it.
Because C.S. Lewis is a raging misogynist. That's why I hated the character of
Susan. That's why he chose the reason he gave.
Mm. However,
I get why he chose Susan and why he did it. This is not an important discussion.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
the first ever kind of mixed race character, isn't it? Like one of the ways you could do it is have an Elros closer. Is you could have like Elros feeling somewhat betrayed by his father Tuor, who who basically became immortal. He went the other way as a man who became immortal, possibly to balance out Luthien. But you've got to remember that they've also been given the gift of Numenor and stuff like that. And I'm thinking of a really weird film, which is Stargate, where someone in Stargate chooses to stay with the space aliens at the end rather than going home because one of them's quite attractive. And it's something that happens a lot. But that choice, the most important thing about it is it's got to weigh heavier on Elrond than it does on Elros. Like Elros has got to take the easy way out, as it were, and Elrond has got to be the one that carries the seasickness with him, and knowing that everyone's got to die, and he's always got to look up and see a father in the sky.
I also think it will really reinforce the moment in Two Towers as well, where his daughter is going to have the same fate, basically.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is that like I think it would be quite cool to have Elrond as a bit happy-go-lucky until this choice, and then after the choice, the gravity is upon him, and you see, Elros with the lads building up Numenor and having fun, but Elrond is carrying a cross that he has to bear for the rest of his life. And remember that the start of the Second Age is essentially the choice of Elrond to become an elf, and the end of the Third Age is officially Elrond sailing to the west. So it's like it's the line of Tuor is really, really important to our kind of verisimilitude of the Lord of the Rings. I think that has to be, when you're talking about the ending, the final shot has to be Eärendil as a star in the sky.
Yeah,
with Elrond looking at him. But it also has to be this idea of fate and freedom and doom and free will and death and deathlessness, which is just what the Lord of the Rings is really about. And I think if you can nail that, every change you make beforehand is forgiven.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that. Of course, they made changes in the Lord of the Rings themselves. We've done many videos on how, when we've thought about all the changes, I think we start to like them less and less, which is not a. We still love them. We still love them, but we're just more aware of them, I guess.
Glorfindel, the Forge of Bruin, is one of the biggest fumbles ever in cinema.
Yeah. In my head canon as well, that moment in Return of the King Extended Edition where Sam and Frodo are walking across the plains of Gorgoroth and he looks up and he sees the star through the clouds. That I want that to be Eärendil. Like in my head canon, that's Eärendil up there with the Silmaril. So
I think it's also really important.
Isn't it?
It might be. Yeah, I can't remember.
Like I know in the book they look at a star that is almost definitely Eärendil,
probably.
Because they directly link it to the glass that the lady gave him.
Yes, no, it's in the book. It's clearly Eärendil, but in the film, it's no one knows who Eärendil is, and it's like for me, when Sam fights Shelob, that is just a very small scale retelling of Eärendil versus Ancalagon.
Yeah,
with the light of Eärendil against this massive monster whizzing about. And I would love in the War of Wrath for that to be not implicit, but nor inferred. I'd like there to be a kind of direct parallel to it, so that the dad watching with his son remembers when he was 11 and he saw like Shelob fighting. Like I know you two are big Star Wars fans. I don't know if that comes across. It certainly won't in the sequels. But I don't know in the prequels, like if your fathers or whoever you went to see it with, sort of like got that kind of poetry the way that it rhymes to get across. And I really think that like anything that we do with the first stage has got to echo in the previous Peter Jackson films, or what's the point?
Well, it's that beautiful moment in the book as well in Return of the King. It's probably might be contender for one of my favorite moments, especially because when I first got to the Lord of the Rings, I actually read them sequentially. So I read the Silmarillion first. I went straight in. Then I think I've done the Hobbit before, but when over lockdown, I did the Silmarillion into the Hobbit into the Lord of the Rings, and I appreciated the Lord of the Rings so much more because of those ties back to the Silmarillion that I started with. And it's the bit where Sam says, like, Mr. Frodo, we're part of the same great tale, and he lists off the great tales. He mentions Beren Luthien and Eärendil and everything. It's a wonderful moment. So yeah, if I could try and tie these movies into the main line, and I think I've got that with the third and the second movie. You know, we talked about the Ring of Barrett here, and the parallels with Aragorn and Arwen with Beren and Luthien. We've got Eärendil. Movie one, not so much. I guess, you know, a Balrog of Morgoth, like, oh, that's who that guy is. Not really anything beyond that, I suppose, but we also need a beginning of this story. So it's difficult, you know. That's the one thing I want to keep stressing with these adaptations. It's bloody difficult. So I've gone on for long enough. That caps off my trilogy. We're over to bath time now for yours. So just one movie on this one, but a very well documented one. Yes. So if you want to explain your idea.
Mine is framed around the fall of Gondolin, but isn't really about that. It's about a man called Tuo and his life. I've just realised though that JX, you're back, and I liked your film trilogy, your 9 films. I know you disappeared, but can you hear me? Okay. I just wanted to say that I like yours and I like Chris's. But let me present to you what the real film should be. I'm just kidding. I've kind of set myself some very, very silly rules about this that I want to sort of talk about first, which is that this isn't me trying to adapt Tolkien. It's more me trying to sort of adapt Peter Jackson for several reasons. The first one is, and the most important thing that I think that everyone has to acknowledge, is that people don't read anymore, and that the gateways to this world for the majority of people around us now are from the Peter Jackson films. And as such, this is what the film should be. It should be an introduction to the world of Middle-earth. And as such, it should be for 12 to 16-year-old boys. That's the first kind of rule that I've set myself, is that this is like Star Wars. It's got to be a sort of coming of age tale that teaches you how to be a man and what your place in society should be. And that if you frame it that way, you can get into this wonderful world, right? So, and it's also got to incorporate some themes that I don't think Peter Jackson got done particularly well, but I'll get to those later. So that's point one. Is it's got to be a Peter Jackson film. You can't have luminous orcs. You can't have too much magic. You can't have too much fantasy. It's got to be grounded where it can, and it's got to be brief in the magic and so on outside of it. So things like Eru Ilúvatar are mysteries that will be solved on your own time. We're not really sort of dealing with that. The second thing is, and I don't like this, but I've decided on it, it essentially has to be an action adventure. I know that Christopher Tolkien hated this idea, but it's market forces. It's got to be seen by people. It's got to be enjoyed by people. And in the same way that I'm not sure about yourself, JX, but I know that Chris came to the world of Tolkien via the films. And that is the overriding idea that I have, which is that this is an introduction to Lord of the Rings rather than to Middle-earth and the Silmarillion, rather than being a canonical, autistic, every detail matters of the Silmarillion. Do we all agree with that? No one's going to shout at me because I've made some slight changes.
That's fine. No.
All right.
No issues.
So
you should see what I actually planned for Rune of Balerion.
Well, I mean, I imagine it was quite a lot of Lego sets and Funko Pops and things. But yeah, so right, the Fall of Gondolin. I'll give you an overview. I'll give you basically an overview of the story. It is a cross between the 300 Spartans and the Fall of Troy. There is a secret city. There's a betrayal, and it leads to people fleeing from this secret city. It's very, very simple. You don't have a huge amount of characters, and I have come up with 4 main themes that I would like in this film, and then I'll give you how I see the plot. But the first theme is about free will. Free will is a huge part of Lord of the Rings and of Tolkien's work. And Gondolin is a secret city that when you enter it, you're not allowed to leave. So it's a kind of a prison. Everyone in Middle-earth is essentially a prisoner of fate. Like, there are so many prophecies and so many oaths.
Not the second-born.
The second-born of whom?
Is mankind.
Well, yeah. Well, this obviously. Actually, I should probably say that Tuor is a man who becomes immortal at the end. But man, there is actually a prophecy about man in the First Age, and it is something we'll come to a little bit later with Bronwë, where Bronwë is a guy who goes to see the Valar, and he asks for help on behalf of the elves, and he gets told to piss off because it has to be for everyone, not just for him, and that the salvation of Middle-earth will come from the union between men and elves, which is Erendil. So there is actually a sort of the fate is around men, and I mean even like the fate of Húrin, which is very important as well. So I believe that whilst, as I said, I've changed and simplified some things, one of the main things about this is about fate versus free will. I think it's a really interesting concept in film and so on. And I think it echoes a little bit with Lord of the Rings, like when you sort of think about the idea of Gollum and how he's the one he makes a promise on the ring and ends up destroying it and so on. How much free will does he have in this situation and so on? And this is done both internally and externally. Externally, it is with Gondolin, because you're not allowed to leave Gondolin. Once you're there, it is a gilded cage. And it is the reason it's a gilded cage is something that I will deal with in the prologue, which is the doom of Mandos and about the Noldor and so on. So this idea of freedom is really important because it plays into the second motif, which is the idea of swans. Like Tuor is guided at the start of his journey by images of swans. He takes it as the seal of his house. And I've always loved in mythology the idea of things like flying fish and dragons, because and a swan is the same, where it's able to exist on water and it's also able to fly. And it's about like mastering both worlds. And for what happens with Erendil and with Tuor's father, it is the idea that they are both struck by this seasickness. Like Tuor is the first man that ever sees the sea, and he's filled with this great longing to see it. And obviously that is something that plays into the idea of Gondolin being a prison, that he can't see the sea. But also this affects Erendil, his successor. And the idea of a swan being able to exist in the air, and I've checked this, swans can fly. I genuinely had to look that up. The sea and the air, it's such an important motif, because it's about balance as well. The idea of the balance between the elves and the men.
It's like Elwing as well, isn't it? Transforms
Exactly.
into a swan as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, yeah.
But as I say, this is actually about Tuor, which is like a hard decision, because Tuor's dad, Tolkien recorded as doing, in his own words, I'll paraphrase them, the most epic thing men ever did was what Tuor's dad did, which is defending the vanguard to allow them to get back to Gondolin. Yeah. And Tuor's son does the most important action in all of the lore, in all of Middle-earth, which is essentially saving the armies, is saving the world from Morgoth, is basically what he does on behalf of the Valar. Amazing. The other, the last part that I really want to deal with is the idea of mortality and immortality, or death and deathlessness, because I'm of the opinion that Peter Jackson and others don't really understand the immortality of the elves, where they're not immortal, they're undying. Yeah. And it's a really different thing, and it's about how things sort of corrode over time and so on. This idea that Morgoth has poisoned Arda and the world, and things get worse. And one of the big issues that I am going to avoid in this film is that the gift of Eru is the ability for men to die. Why is Tuor rewarded with this gift? I am of the personal belief that Tolkien has never actually got round to kind of working this out himself. Mm-hmm. So I'm completely avoiding it in film, and it will not end with Tuor being immortal or choosing that.
Are you going to have him sailing into the west though, and then just people? Oh, okay.
No, because I told you I've had to make some changes to this film. I think you'll get it as I go along. What I'm trying to do with it. But this is kind of the starting point that I have. Like, is there like anything? I've explained myself that well. There is there anything to disagree with, or?
Well, I was going to ask a question regarding the prologue, but I'm assuming you're going to get onto that in a second. There's a lot of back history in terms of Maeglin, Turgon, Erethel, Eol, everything like that. Would that be covered in a prologue to sort of?
No.
No? Okay, we're just jumping in.
It is covered, but not in the prologue. The prologue sets up the state of the world, right? And it is about the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, and how Gondolin is essentially the last stand against Morgoth, who was essentially won. The world is under his control. It's basically very, very similar to the one that we see in the Fellowship about armies fighting and so on, and Balrogs and dragons and things. It establishes Morgoth as this threat who has everything. It's his battle to lose now. The battle for Middle-earth. And the most important part of the prologue is the idea that the gods have abandoned Middle-earth. That's really, really important, that all the pleas have gone unheeded, and that we're alone in this world. Like, do you see where I'm going with this?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So
because I know you mentioned, but I don't know if it was at the beginning of the stream or before we went live, that you're actually not going to feature the Valar in their full, depicted godly form. Essentially, it's all going to be very vague. This is a terrible film. I'm going to compare it to. I don't even know if you've seen it. It was an awful Ridley Scott film called Exodus: Gods and Kings.
I have seen it, and I quite like it.
One thing I really like about this, and this isn't just because I'm an atheist or anything like this, I thought it was actually a really fun, creative way that they did it. How all of the plagues of God within that movie are kind of like ambiguous. You could just view them as, there's a natural disaster, or there's a pestilence and a plague that happens. There's reasons for why that can happen, and I really like that. Yeah, but I'd never seen any other depiction of that story.
Yeah,
still tell the story, but in an ambiguous way. And when you mentioned that you weren't going to have the Valar, I'm imagining a scene where, in the book, Ulmo rises up and speaks with Tor. I could almost imagine him stood on cliffs overlooking the sea, and just close up shots of him listening to the sound of the waves rushing, or maybe his attention is directed to a wave which shows him like this cave that he walks through to find Gondolin and the armor and everything like that. So yeah, I think keeping it more grounded like that could absolutely work.
It's not. It's. I don't even think that it's a choice. Like, I think that when we look at the world that is set up by Peter Jackson, which is the one that we have to live in, we get very, very little of Sauron. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, but the idea of just an eye, I think works quite well because your imagination is better. I mean, the first shot of Sauron is like over the shoulder in Morgoth's armor. And this is something that really annoys me because I think that everyone who watches it in the language of Lord of the Rings, that the three-pointed helm, which is, you know, similar to Thungorarim and so on, is now Sauron's. So you have to redesign Morgoth. And one of the things that I won't be doing is showing a lot of Morgoth. I will be trying to draw parallels between Gollum and Sauron and Hurin and Morgoth in this. But the other slightly, the other decision I've made that I'm not sure if people will like or not is that the first 20 minutes of the film is very heavily influenced by Wall-E.
No, I like that. I think that could work. Yeah.
So we're going to have
a bit of Wall-E. So
exactly. or Silent Runnings for anyone who's a bit pretentious and likes 1970s films. But the first shot of the film will be our boy Tuor, who is 16 at the time, holding a drawing of the mouth of the Sidian. Right, which is so in the original story, he is captured by Logran on the way to the mouth of the Sidian, and the end of the film will be him looking across the Sidian. So that is the book ending between them, and that is why I won't be dealing with his immortality. He is a prisoner of Easterling. Well, I say prisoner; he's a slave.
Yeah.
And the first part of the film will be this guy called. I have to check this because apologies to anyone watching. I make my own names up for a lot of characters. And Tolkien called him Logran, I think. I've been calling him Logan in my head all week. I'm basing him off the guy in Succession. But I can't even find it in my notes. But so the idea is that we're going to get a false history presented to Tuor at the start of the film, which is about how the elves used him and his uncle, who's Hurin, to basically be cannon fodder for them to escape. And we're going to have a very, like, Tuor's character arc is going to be angry and vengeful at the beginning. He's an orphan and he's been neglected by his parents. They've gone out to do things for the elves rather than for him, and that's why he's living this way. And he will not speak at any point in the up until basically he meets Thoromway. But he will escape, and he will be an absolute savage living in the wilderness, raiding, like killing, murdering people around him, with Logran trying to capture him, until he begins to dream swans. And we will see a kind of not a montage, but you know when the Fellowship get together and we get lots of nice shots of them walking about and things.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I want to do in the beginning, is give a sort of a geography to Middle Earth of new locations, because we've never seen this before. So we could film in Chile or Argentina, for example. It doesn't have to be New Zealand because it's all fresh, and we want the majesty and the sort of ferocity of the First Age, like how like it's beautiful, but it's dangerous, the nature around us. And this is the world that Tuor exists in. He's out just recklessly killing people. He's got no purpose. And then he's given purpose, which is him having to go to the city that Torgon, the king of Gondolin, left abandoned, but with just his armor in there. And so he gets there, he finds the armor, he's been guided by dreams that we see. You know, I'd love to get a bit of low opacity Elrond stuff in here. You know, like when Bilbo wakes up, when Frodo wakes up at Rivendell. With but yeah, so that's the idea, that it's completely silent, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish an angry, uncivilized killer in Tuor, right? Because he's going to change at the end. He's going to change across the film, and he's going to let go of his anger, because I believe that one of the key things in Lord of the Rings is letting go. It's one of the only quests you ever get where the idea is to get rid of something as opposed to pick something up. And so then we get to the really problematic bit is I still don't know what to do about Ulmo. But this is what I know. Okay.
Go on, sorry.
No, please.
Okay, I was going to have a few points that you made already. Number one, I love that we've got the Easterlings involved, because that's something new, that's something fresh, that's a culture that I've always wanted to see more of. You know, Tolkien didn't write masses about them, so I think actually seeing the Easterlings fully fleshed in the film would be really, really cool. Second question. Orcrist that Thorin has in the movies, you know, like the Dragon Claw sword, is the sword of the King of Gondolin. It's Turgon's sword. Is he going to have the same?
No, it isn't.
Yes.
No, is it not?
No, it is not.
Orcrist is
no, Glamdring. Sorry, Glamdring. Sorry, my bad.
Orcrist
my bad. Sorry.
Ecthelion of the Fountain.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
I'm giving Orcrist to Glorfindel.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That actually. I think I'm actually doing the same, because I've changed some stuff as well. But I'm also giving Sting to Eärendil to parallel what happens with Aeneas in the Aeneid, where he's given the sword of Troy, and later on he founds Rome using that sword. But this is rather like the Rings of Barahir and things. I want to kind of not redeem the Hobbit, as it were, but I want people when them to be exactly the same swords that we see in the Hobbit, and then later Lord of the Rings, to get to sort of like link these things. So I'll talk about the links later, because Tuor is also a kind of Aragorn stand-in, and one of the things that I love so much about Lord of the Rings, and I think people appreciate it more and more these days, is Aragorn as a man and his masculinity is incredibly different to how we see it portrayed in cinema most of the time. Like when you think about, no diss on it, but when you think of like Terminator or Rambo or something, you have the idea of this is what a warrior should be. And then you have characters like William Wallace or like Aragorn, who are more balanced in what they are. And this is kind of what I want to do with Tuor, is show essentially his journey to becoming a man by being a father. Because I think it's actually based on you remember my favorite line in cinema, I am a Jedi, my father
before me. Yes,
that's kind of a touchstone that I've had in this, where we're not following elves or Silmarils or things we don't understand. We're following the journey of a boy becoming a man. And that's really important, I think, to my story.
I was going to draw this story comparison. I know, Bathtime, you know, like all the like themes and, you know, comparisons to like biblical texts or whatever. I've always seen sort of like Moses comparisons a little bit with Tuor, a little bit, or like the story of the Prince of Egypt. I'm imagining the bit where, you know, he discovers the armor and discovers what he's destined to do is the burning bush scene. It's where he communicates with God, and, you know, he's got some destiny to fulfill. I guess there's also the bit where he remains among the people as well and marries, is it Zipporah or something? I can't remember her name. I'm trying to think of Prince of Egypt, but he stays. Moses, yeah. And he marries the woman of the village. It's the same with like Idril and everything. I don't know. There's little comparisons. I don't know if the story of Moses is the one. Yeah. Exactly.
Like the idea of coming out of God, like he starts going on an exodus to the same place that he leads everyone from Gondolin to. And it's actually a bit like the Blues Brothers. It is a mission from God. Because remember, at the start, I've made it really clear, or at least tried to, that the gods have abandoned Middle Earth, except for one, which is Ulmo. And Ulmo, the reason that they want to get to the mouth of Sirion is that river, which I forget the name of, like, you know, catch me outside, Tolkien scholars.
Yeah.
That's the only place that Ulmo can protect them. And we know the orcs hate rushing water. We know the Nazgul hate rushing water. And I think that it's quite cool to sort of bring that back to the Fords of Beren, the idea of Bjorn, sorry, the idea of that water is safe, and it's because of Ulmo. And maybe the gods are working in mysterious ways that we don't understand. But this is the hard bit for me, because I don't think with Jackson's films you can show Ulmo coming out like Poseidon from the water. I think you can hear a voice and all these things, but most of it is going to come from my man that I call Runway, but you know him as Veronway. And Veronway is a very, very interesting character for two reasons. One is his big ops is one of my favorite like gods in the whole of Tolkien's story, like in the whole of the Legendarium. Of course, I can't remember his name, but he is a lesser Valar or lesser Maya. I can't remember this, but the thing that I'm most interested in is he rebelled with Morgoth and then came back to the good side, but he's still a bit of a dickhead. And so when the elves, of which Veronway is the only survivor, when they went off to see the Valar to beg for help, they were all destroyed by this guy, and only Veronway was allowed to survive. And he's only allowed to survive to guide Tuor to Gondolin. And so this is the first part that we're going to see. This is still all Act 1. This is like, in a 2.5-hour film, this is maybe 25 minutes into the film. This first time that we're going to get a look into the politics and the workings of Middle-earth on their adventure to Gondolin. So Logran is going to be pursuing them. There's going to be some sort of action and running away and things. Like, think the Nazgul pursuing them out of the Shire. Like, they're going to have to be constantly on the move, but most importantly, their movements have to be kept secret, so they can't engage. So Tuor's got to learn a bit of control and how and so on. And we're also going to get slightly different remixes of the stories that he's been told. So his father is going to be presented as what he was, one of the greatest heroes that the Edain have ever produced. And also Hurin is going to be framed in this way. And we're going to get the idea of fate, which is that it's been prophesied that from the house of I always forget Tuor's dad is Huor or Hurin. Honestly, why can't you just call them Kevin and Steve?
I know. It's your eyes kind of glaze over after a while hearing all these names, don't they? Yeah.
But
And of course, every name also has like 10 alternative names spoken in different tongues as well that you've got to try and remember as well.
Oh my god! I was going over Rune of Balerion literally today, and they said who is called Gilgalad? No, not Gilgalad. Who the ship? Somebody's son who is now called Círdan, and I'm like, wait a second, I know who that is.
The same way when I found out there's another bloke called Boromir, and I was
There's another Minas Tirith. There's a character called Bregolas or something. I was like, oh come on. There's another Denethor. There's a Lorien as well, I think, isn't there? Yeah, it gets out of hand. Yeah.
Here's what I'll say: men reusing names is cool. Elves reusing names is fucking pointless.
It is, because they don't bloody die.
Yeah.
There's two of them. Just call them junior and senior. But yes, so so essentially that is the first act. The one thing I'm quite confused about where I put in the story is we definitely need Hurin chained up and being tortured, and I think that has to be like
prologue, maybe.
No, by definition, I think it needs to be in the first act, because Hurin is going to be a massive part of this story, because he leads them essentially to the area where they're going to take Miglin.
It's reminding me of the. Have you ever listened to the BBC radio drama, the Brian Sibley one from the 80s?
What, the Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't. No.
So the opening scene of that, I think, is really cool. It's Sauron torturing Gollum for information. That's the opening scene of the radio play. So I could imagine something like that. Maybe not like the opening scene, but throughout it, like a scene similar to that.
I was thinking of doing it with when Logran is who like it. I mean, we all know who Wormtongue is going to be in this, the direct parallel. But like for Logran and the orcs, I want them slightly different to the Lord of the Rings, where I want the enemies a lot smarter. I want it to look like the orcs have degraded over time, and that they're stronger with Melkor, with Morgoth than they are with Sauron, and that we get that idea of sort of diminishing returns. Because Gondolin, I know most people probably compared it to Minas Tirith. To me, it's Helm's Deep. And Torgon is Theoden. Is like that's who he most like represents to me. The idea of hiding behind your walls and not engaging with the world and hoping to wait it out and stuff. Like so, then obviously Tuor would be like your Aragorn. And so with this in mind, Hurin is actually going to be my Gollum. Like
there's another parallel there to the story of Moses, isn't there? Because like Moses goes there and he's like, "Let my people go," kind of thing. This is a decree by God. Tuor goes there and says, "Look, the gods have said you need to get out of here," and it's the rejection of the gods. It's no, we'll be fine. We can weather the storm.
Like because Torgon's quite a difficult character because he understands that salvation will come from his house, but he also understands. He's also like when Huor and Hurin like save the Gondalorian, it's also the first time they've like up until this point, Gondolin is just a rumor. Like no one's really seen it in action. So at that battle, Morgoth, in the same way that Sauron puts all his attention on the search for the ring, Morgoth does the same for Gondolin. And so that's like another parallel where, you know, that's why Gollum is essentially released and so on. It's about trying to get the ring. And so for Morgoth, this huge thing is trying to get Gondolin, essentially. And I think that's really cool. So that's heavily in my film. And so Logran and the orcs are much more intelligent in this. And then we get to Gondolin, like after maybe 45 minutes or so, and they're taken prisoner. I don't know if I'm going to keep that or not, because I do like the idea of you coming in and going, oh my, you know, like in Jurassic Park, when they go in, they've got the music and the gates open, and it's all really cool. I'd like it to be like that, but at the same time, because like being a prisoner is such an important thematic element of this film, they go into this prison as prisoners.
I don't think it's an issue entering the city. It's more so if you suddenly want to leave, that's when it becomes.
Well, the fact they know where it is means that they are captured. Like because everyone is like, how do you know this place, and so on, and so they're brought before Torgon for questioning, and then a bit like Moses, let my people go.
Shows the armor.
Tuor is in the armor.
Yeah.
But also he speaks, as Tolkien says, with the voice of Ulmo. And he says that the doom of the Noldor is near and you must leave. And he is denied. And then, like I think all of us have found, the second act of these films is really difficult.
Yes.
Because we have a time jump in everything, because Tuor enters at 16 and he spends 10 years in Gondolin before the siege, where he gets married and has a kid.
Going back to what JX said about watching the original Dune movie, we're going to have to speed run the romance with Chani. You know how you get the voiceover? It's like, and they were wed and they fell madly in love, and we just get this huge montage that covers, you know, years and years.
Well, so what I've thought about doing, right, is there's a couple of things that I want to do in the first half of the second act. One is a bit similar to how the Two Towers worked, which is that in the Two Towers, the Fellowship introduces the world of Lord of the Rings, and the Two Towers teaches us the politics of Lord of the Rings, like how Gondor and the Rohirrim and Isengard and Mordor all kind of interact with each other. So in this, I've kind of based it a little bit on a film called Kingdom of Men, where Orlando Bloom goes to Jerusalem and finds out he's a lord and starts sorting his farm out and all these different
Kingdom
things.
of Heaven?
Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
So in this, we need to establish a couple of things. First off, I'm not having a fat elf. In the original text, there is a fat elf. We're not having that in this. I'm sorry. But we have Idris, Megalyn, Ecthelion, and Glorfindel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I want, basically, to happen here, we have to get Tuor to understand that from his line, a saviour for the world is going to emerge. We have to have him fall in love with Idris. We have to have the threat of Magelyn, who is lusting after his cousin, Idris, and also the fact that he is the only living heir of... I've forgotten the name of the king of Gondolin.
Turgon.
Turgon, thank you.
Yeah.
I do this. I forgot Gladriel's name once. There's so many of them, but yeah. So like Tuor is going to come in. He's going to be given his own house, and I also want him to have a bit of a rivalry with Glorfindel. And this part is going to explore him falling in love with Idris, and also recontextualizing who his father was.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because his father was like raised as what's it called, like a host or something. He was raised in Gondolin, basically, and he's just heard how his dad was selfish and abandoned him and all this stuff, and now he's learning what a hero he is and all these kind of things. It's the happy, fun times with this slight menace of Megalyn in the background, coveting his woman and his position, and this will all finish, like the high point of the second act will be the wedding. And then we're going to get all the setup for the nasty things that are going to happen. And the first is going to start with Húrin. Húrin will be released. He will go and he will deliver his curse at Gondolin. Turgon will not send the eagles in time, as it happens in the book, as he's torn between duty and loyalty, as it were. And then Logran is going to come back, and he's going to be the one that sees Húrin and calls him friend, and he instantly understands what the plan is and stuff. Because I want him to be a secondary antagonist. And then, obviously, he's going to be the one that captures Megalyn. And so this is just speed running this part. This is the setup for the battle, and then we get the big battle, right? So they're all there singing, waiting for the sun to come up. The sun comes up in the wrong place because they see the red coming, but it's actually the forces of Morgoth, who's finally found Gondolin. And then we get battle scenes, and this is where I find things difficult because I don't want to show two Balrogs getting messed up.
Oh, come on! Give the people what they want.
So,
we need Balrogs on dragons. We need wolves. We need everything.
Do it,
all right,
pussy.
Okay.
Could the Balrogs be on the dragons? But the Balrogs are flapping their wings,
like Optimus Prime,
which allows the dragons to fly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, you all know what happens is you get this amazing army that turns up. Tuor begs Turgon to flee. Megalyn convinces him not to, that they should hide behind the walls and so on. And then we get the big 30-minute sort of action set piece. Oh, yeah. We get like Tuor with an axe recreating what his dad did. His dad killed over 70 orcs.
Yes, yeah.
And he only got
that thing over and over again, doesn't he, as he's hacking through them all.
Like vengeance.
Yeah.
And his axe dissolves in the blood
Of the trolls,
the
yeah,
orcs.
the troll guard, yeah.
So you've got this bit, right? And this is where I want in my head. This is where the first Balrog breaks in, and Ecthelion says to Ecthelion and Veronwë turn up. Veronwë now says that Maeglin is doing naughty stuff with Idris, and you've got to go and save her. And he's like, I can't. And then Ecthelion comes in the same way that his father did to save the elves. Now the debt is repaid. Do you see? It's important, isn't it? How the things
I need to
line up.
see this movie. I've got it in my head. It's some good shit. Yeah.
Okay, and then so here,
but you've got to give me a Balrog fight. I'm sorry, you've got to give me. You got to give me two Balrog
fight,
okay.
But it's a different one.
Okay.
This is a bit like because this is a story of Tuor, right? It's not the story of Gondolin. So you're going to see, in the same way you see in Godzilla fighting something, but not done properly. Because now the whole point is that when we first saw Tuor at the start of the film, he's an angry man and nothing to lose, just trying to kill people. Here, he's a father. This is what he's become, running to save his family.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes, saves family. Maeglin shoved off the wall, blah, blah, blah. Torgon obviously will die in quite a heroic way. It's similar, actually, to Theoden, where the horse falls on him, and this, it will be the castle, the tower collapsing on him. And he understands at this moment that everyone has to leave the city. And so he kind of repents and asks Tuor to get them all out. And so Tuor and the lads are running through the city that's burning. I think in the original story, their escape is helped because the flames from the dragons and the Balrogs have created steam from the fountains, and it helps them get away. So running through the tunnel that I forgot to mention that Idris has built earlier, she didn't like Maeglin, they go through, and this is where we get what you want, which is they stumble across a whole load of orcs, led by my boy Logran.
Oh,
this is the guy.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So this is the guy that has been the biggest bastard to Tuor ever. Tuor no longer cares. He sees him, he could kill him, he doesn't. This is the growth. He's just about getting Arendelle and his family out, and that's where we see this kind of Aragon masculinity that has come through, that echoes the pity in some ways of Bilbo and Gollum. Like this is meant to show his growth, and then Throndir and the Eagles dive bomb, clear a path. They're going. They've made it. Boom. Boom.
Yeah. Yes.
Boom.
Yes.
Who is it? Who's there, Chris?
Are we going? Oh, we can't go Doran's Bane with this one, but it's just Balrog. Yeah,
it's Balrog too. I mean, fuck it. Let's just make it Gothmog. Like, I know it's not, but
they slew each other. They slew each other though, didn't they? They killed each other.
Look, it doesn't matter. There's a Balrog there.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
You see, he's got his axe. He's there. He's ready. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that he's got to protect his family, and he's got to save their escape. And then his frenemy taps him on the shoulder, and he understands his father's sacrifice and how it's being repaid because Glorfindel is there. And we get to see the fight between Glorfindel and the Balrog, and it ends the same way. Gandalf,
off the mountain,
and then pulled down, and so on, and then this is
that's how the trolls get the sword.
Exactly. And then the film will end with Tuor sitting at the banks of the Sirion, looking at Arendelle, echoing what we saw right at the start of the film, where he had that little picture of it. He is there now, and that is the story of Tuor. And I think it's all right, isn't it?
Go picture. I want to see it. This is like the heartbreaking thing about all of our pitches here is that I've actually come around to this now. I so desperately want to see all of these movies, and I know if Bathtime, if Peter Jackson was making a movie of the movie you just pitched, Turgon would not be this morally grey character where we empathize with him. He would be Denethor. He would be the villain. He would be like Cutler Beckett when all hell's breaking loose and Gondor's been destroyed. Like, orders, sir. It's just good business as everything's obliterating around him, and he's like this failed leader.
That's why I did that big thing about the beginning, about the themes and so on, because I want, swans and death and deathlessness and all these things like going through. And I think it's so important because we've all had problems with like coming up with this film. I think the best way is a biopic from the point of view of an understandable character. And I've picked the one who is in between two of the greats. And so on. And I want nothing to do with the Children of Hurin, I've got to be honest. I hate it.
Well, I was going to mention there is a moment which is one of the best sort of like cinematic universe crossovers moments. Yeah, where they cross each other. But what you could do is you could have an actor with their back to the camera who's got a black sword.
Like Moriarty in the first.
Yeah. Like, we haven't cast him yet. He'll be a big actor in the spin-off, but we're just keeping our foot in the door just in case. They'll just be wide and he'll just be like, who's that guy? Anyway, okay, carry on with the plot.
There was something else I left out as well, but I can't remember what it was.
I have a request though for the final shot where he's looking at Eärendil. Can we get some like?
No, he's looking out to sea.
He's looking out to sea. Can we get some? Yeah. I was gonna say, can we get some swans?
What do you want? Elwyn coming over the bloody over the mountain or something like
transforming from human to swan, like the Swan Princess. Yes.
Yeah, no, but it's because that's where Eärendil meets Elwyn and so on. But I'm quite happy with that as a film because I think it's got character arcs. It works. I think it's a good introduction to Middle Earth, as it were. And I think that you can do it in a Jackson-y way with avoiding luminous green orcs and fucking water gods and so on.
It's very stock in a way. This isn't a bad thing, by the way, where you have the frenemy character, how they butt heads initially, and then he comes in at the last minute, and you're like, oh, he's a good lad. He's a good lad.
It's a debt repaid. Because if like the other thing I've tried to avoid is the Marvelification of these films. But if you wanted a post-credit scene, it's absolutely something happening at Glorfindel's grave. Because the interesting thing about this
is breaking out.
Yeah, like exactly, because the thing that's so interesting about this story is two people in a way granted immortality in Glorfindel and Tuor, and I'm not sure I want to do that, but because Glorfindel makes it a lot easier for me that he isn't at the Fords of Bruin. Because
I was going to say,
yeah. Like
if we're tying it into the films, obviously we don't get Glorfindel, but at least he gets an epic moment to shine. Like we're still getting him in the movie somewhere.
Yeah,
but here.
And that will be like the main climax is like I think JX in one of your screenshots, you had Glorfindel versus the Balrog on a mountain for the film poster, and I know people probably don't like this, but one of the only bits I really enjoyed in The Rings of Power was the absolute bollocks about how Mithril was created.
Yeah, I was going to say they do an elf fight in a Balrog, don't they?
But it's still really cool because do you remember in the where Gandalf was getting like lightning to hit Glamdring and things? Like we can do stuff like that. Like this is the bit where we go absolutely crazy because a lot of the Fall of Gondolin is going to be Tuor legging it about as things are going on around. Like if you think Jon Snow in any battle, he's mainly running around as stuff goes on around him. That was a bit of a touchstone. But yeah, that's my version of it. Oscars.
Yeah. We got Howard Shore returning, I'm guessing, for music.
Yeah, Billy Boyd sing a silly song at the end.
We're not going to get Junkie XL or anything to do the music or whatnot. It's going to be Howard Shore, yeah?
Yeah, with
not until the War Wrath.
Yes, yeah. We just get like the Wonder Woman theme kick in during the Battle of the Gods.
Yeah, or like they play James Bond when Glorfindel comes out.
Yeah. Oh, can you have a one-liner? Oh, you know how they gave Elrond that really cringy one-liner in Battle of the Five Armies at Dol Guldur? Is
You
like,
should have stayed dead.
yeah, it was. Oh, it was
Yeah.
so bad. It was so bad. I need to make
I'm
these
getting
one-liners
too
in
old
there.
for this shit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh,
Yeah, I would. Yeah, so I think that's like
yeah. I was going to say, with Sauron in Beren and Luthien, when he's like a werewolf, would we give him like the actual eyes, like the eyes of Sauron? He's got two cat eyes, but like as his regular eyes.
Oh, they do something really stupid. Like they would do. You know how they do a shortcut to mushrooms in Fellowship?
Mm-hmm.
Sauron would say something like, "I'm a prince," and someone else would go, "Of what? Cats?"
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
oh, do you remember in Rings of Power season 2 as well? The bit where he's killed Celebrimbor and he like hoists him up on the spear, and he goes like, "I am a lord," and he goes, "No, you are nothing. You are a lord of the rings." I was like, "Oh my god, no, we're not doing that, are we?" Okay.
No, that's where he appears to him. As what's his
Jesus.
Form? Anatar.
Anatar.
Like,
yeah.
And he says something like, "You can be the Lord of the Rings," and he's like whizzing around the room, and he's like, "Oh my god, Mr. Mouse, check this out." I hope Mr. Mouse is back for season 3.
I was tempted to rewatch the first 2 seasons before the new one comes out, just because it's been like a decade since the previous season, you know, as most TV shows are now. But I don't think I have the strength.
I like the prologue to the Rings of Power.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I really, because when we're talking about the trees and so on, I think they actually do it quite well. In the Rings of Power, where you see the shadow of Morgoth behind the trees, and then do they? No, they don't show the crossing at Haraxi, do they? They like she's doing some sort of.
She's like climbing the wall from Game of Thrones in one point, which I remember seeing it, thinking it was the Helcaraxe, but I don't think it is.
When all the shots came out, I thought one of them was the king slaying, like so there were all these elves like falling in the water and stuff. I might not watch season 1. I've just remembered what happens in the first episode where she gets on the ship to go to Valinor and then jumps off and meets Sauron on a boat, and oh god.
Do the fight a kraken in one point?
They do, yeah. That's what they're doing. Sauron's on a boat and they're fighting a kraken.
That's it. Yeah.
He said something like, "Oh, looks can be deceiving." When she says it, she goes, "Oh, are you a friend?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, brilliant." And then he goes to fucking Numenor, doesn't he? Oh my god!
But season 1, you do get more Waldrig than season 2, so there is that. You pick your poison.
But I do find it very funny that like Waldrig is one of the only people to smack up Sauron.
Yeah.
I hope they bring him back.
We didn't see a body. Did
everything in Middle-earth ever manage to get in contact with Waldrig?
No, I don't think so. We'll keep trying, though. We'll keep trying for season 3. We've got another 3 seasons of this shit to go. Season 4's apparently going into production.
Yeah, it's only 2 seasons. Oh, no, it is, isn't it?
Well, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we've got.
It's only been 2 seasons.
Yeah,
do you know the Harfoots aren't in it anymore? Then?
Yeah, I know. They've cut that gem of a storyline, haven't they? But how are we going to find out what the promised land is now? The land of milk and honey for the hobbits that exists somewhere, and it's like a green hill. I wonder.
Oh my god!
I've heard that Kieran Hines isn't coming back either as maybe Saruman. I don't know, the dark evil wizard man in season 2.
It was clearly Saruman, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. I've heard he's not coming back. He's being recast as someone else. So.
Oh, so the character's coming back.
I think so. Yeah. Do you remember when Gandalf arrived in Middle-earth via meteorite?
I quite like that.
What? What do you mean? That's ridiculous.
I think when you think about it from a storytelling point of view, I think that like they do this in Game of Thrones. I think a star or a meteor that everyone can look at and it orientates the geography of where everyone's at isn't the worst thing in the world to do. So it links everyone together. So they had that woman who was with brother Legolas, and then she left to go and like fight the Iranian regime or something in real life. Theo's mum.
Yeah.
Like, I liked it that they saw that going over, and I liked it that the Harfoots saw it going over, and I liked it that they saw it at Numenor going over. I think it's a really good way to introduce all the characters and stuff. It's just at that point we didn't know that that was Olorin, and so it is a bit stupid because he turns up to meet Círdan. They probably call him Círdan the alt-right instead of the shit right.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you. You can use it, lad.
Thank you.
But, like, you know, because he gets there to get, you know, the ring and I mean, Jesus, they dropped the ball on it so much. Why did they give such amateurs such? Oh,
I don't know. Him showing up via meteorite reminds me of Transformers. You know, Arrival to Earth when all the Autobots come in. I don't know. It just reminds me.
Wouldn't that be brilliant? Radagast whizzing in on a mossy asteroid covered in bird shit.
I was watching a compilation of some of the worst lines of dialogue from Rings of Power, and my God, I forgot some of them. Do you remember when Gandalf, like his sort of the climax of his story at the end of season 1, when he's facing off against the M&M wizards, he's just like, "I am good." I'm like, oh, that's bad.
That is awful. When you think back at it, I mean, he's sent with a bloody mission to Middle Earth, and instead they put him with amnesia and say, "Sort it out yourself." I've just remembered that Tom Bombadil turns up as well in a desert with Old Man Willow.
He's in the desert of Rune with a random disembodied voice of Goldberry, who may or may not be real. We don't know. Old Man Willow's in Rune as well. The Hobbits are in Rune, in the deserts of Rune.
Oh yeah, because there's an intellectually less capable Hobbit, isn't there? That everyone thought might be Anatar, and then it turns out.
I mean, it'd be more of a disguise than Anatar himself, where he just puts a wig on, and everyone's like, "Oh, what did you do with Halbrand? Where did he go?"
Oh, I actually think Halbrand was actually quite a good character. I really, really enjoyed the episode where they basically shout like the king in the north, and he just goes, "Yeah, go on then," and says that he's their king. I think Halbrand's all right in it. I hope they keep him sour. Sorry?
Wait, what?
Sorry, my wife just waved, and then as she was leaving, she said, "It's my house. I have to say hi." Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Hi.
Hello. Thanks.
She's out of the room now.
What was I going to say? Yeah, you have the elegance of the Silmarillion of the rap battle between Finrod and Sauron, and in Rings of Power Season 1, you just have Galadriel and Sauron just shout at each other. Do you remember that one? It's like the extreme close-up.
I actually also
we got a preview of that in Battle of the Five Armies.
Did we? Yes, yeah, actually, that's a good point.
You have no.
Oh, that scene was so bad. That was so bad.
Do you have any absinthe?
I don't think he understands Galadriel, Peter Jackson.
No.
Like,
especially not when she has that moment in Fellowship, which is quite cringe now to watch. Yeah, that bit. It's not great. It was a choice. Yeah, I don't think it was the right choice. Yeah.
I will maintain to this day, Frodo not shouting at the Nazgul is the biggest fumble in the whole thing, even more than Denethor.
Oh yeah, by all the Shire, you shall have neither the ring nor me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's just amazing.
It goes so fucking hard,
and it should have been his kind of like. I still don't really like "I am no man," the line delivery of that, but I think now it's because we're so sort of like saturated with girl boss, girl power things that it feels a bit cringe in retrospect. It's like when I watched Avengers Endgame, I quite liked the bit where all the girls turned up and started running. I think
it works out better than Infinity War.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which bit?
There was the girl boss moment in
tried
Infinity
it in
War.
Infinity War, but like it was like all the girl characters are being relegated to this one fight, Whereas it's just like, here are all the girl characters in this one portion of the same fight. In
So
Endgame.
in Infinity War, is it the bit where the girl with the spear and Scarlett Johansson fight someone and she goes, "Oh, that was disgusting."
Yeah, it's that bit.
Yeah, I did like that, and I also
that was
really
way more
liked
naturalistic
Thor
to
turning
me.
up.
But that's a good. Yeah, the theme kicks in. Oh hell yeah!
I've watched, I would say, a video about Indian cinema goers reacting to that scene over 30 times, where they go absolutely wild in the cinema. It's amazing. They got Robin.
Yeah, we got Robin who says, "Have to agree with Bathtime about the 'I am no man' line. It just makes me roll my eyes, which sucks because it is epic."
Yeah, it's just delivered. It's delivered poorly, and I really like. Apart from the Hobbits, I really like all the actors in the Lord of the Rings, and I think that Theoden in particular, rest in peace. His actor, is it Bernard Hill?
Yeah, Bernard Hill. Yeah.
I think that, like, can you imagine what that would be like, right? Where the Fellowship comes out, and you understand that you've got a huge part in the second and third film, and all that pressure is on you, and you can't do anything about it because it's all been filmed. And then you turn in one of the stellar performances in the whole trilogy. Absolutely brilliant. Like, I hope that for all these films, we don't get Marvel casting of fucking Keanu Reeves as Feanor or something. That, you know,
Hold
like... Do you like that, Keanu Reeves? Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. It would be. I really like. I like the boy that you've brought in, who's going to be in the Rings of Power, like the one Vecna from Stranger Things. Jamie Bowen Campbell.
Is he actually going to be in Rings of Power?
Yeah, and I'm a bit worried.
Why would he pick that show? He needs to fire his agent.
Well, he's British. He might just actually want to have regular work in the UK for 3 years. My issue with him is I think that he is far better than pretty much everyone there. Ooh.
The memes have been glorious. That's all I'll say regarding the Odyssey.
I cannot believe the casting in the Odyssey.
I know.
Is Elliot Page actually playing Achilles?
I don't think it's been confirmed. No, I think they've said it might be someone else now, but a lot of people did kind of jump to that conclusion. For me, it's not only just that. I mean, it is a combination of that, but also just the lines. Do you remember the bit where like Matt Damon just shouts like "Let's go" in like an American accent, in like the most awkward framing ever?
Isn't that what they shouted like on 9/11 when they like rammed the drinks trolley into the plane to bring it down?
I don't know. It's just so bad. And then you have bits like, "Oh, my dad. Oh, is your daddy coming home?" And the thing is, as well, like I can't remember the name of the one who's translated it. It's heavily based on this feminist interpretation. This very recent translation.
No, I am cutting you off right there. That is bullshit. It is actually a more accurate interpretation that is being painted as feminist by a bunch of people who are referring to older translations that were actually doing what it is being accused of now for the times that it was written.
Well, her argument is that the language they would have used in the time in which it was written and would have been spoken at the time would have been like everyday informal stuff that we talk about now. So people would say like dad or daddy or things like that.
Yeah, but at no point in the Odyssey is the word papas or papa used. Like they only ever use the informal father or informal father. But I'm specifically referring to, it's not feminist. It's just not as misogynistic as the older translations that were actually adding misogyny to it because of the term dog face, which actually just means cowardly or shameful. However, they were translating it to bitch and whore.
Well, they've also translated things like the term handmaiden has now been retranslated to slave, and I'm like, that's very different.
The word slave was translated to handmaiden and is now being back translated to slave.
No, I think JX is right on that. Like, Briseis, the kind of bride of Achilles, was essentially like a slave, like serving I can't remember what god it was, but like certainly enslaved by Nestor. My issue with what I've seen from the Odyssey is I don't like American accents in like old historical stuff. It just doesn't ring right to me. Like
if the alternative is British, who cares?
There's a certain
it's very
convention though for
important.
these kind of things, though. I think it's just like the language of cinema, just what we've seen, what we come to expect from other things.
Yeah, I mean,
I would agree.
I mean, can you imagine if orcs were speaking like they were from Alabama or something? It just feels wrong. And the second issue that I have is I don't think they really are hitting the themes of the Odyssey. Like, I mean, a lot of the Iliad is in the Odyssey. Like the Iliad ends with Hector's funeral, basically. So things like the Trojan horse and stuff like that we know come from the Odyssey. But the idea of like Kleos and glory and fate and things like that, it doesn't, from what I've seen, it doesn't really come across well, and it all seems very sort of superficial. Like like Agamemnon dressed as like RoboCop is a bit mad to me, because I understand why they've done it. Like there's a very famous scene where he's killed by Clytemnestra after she makes him take his armor off, but it feels like Nolan's just understood the superficial part, and that's what he's concentrating on, rather than the themes, which have made the Odyssey echo for 3,000 years. And that's kind of my issue with it, is that I think someone once told me that with Batman, everyone loved the Batman films he made, but he clearly didn't want to make a film about Batman. It was like a different character in a different world and so on. And I feel that he might be doing the same thing with the Odyssey. So I'm a bit...
Some of the things I've read about his choices as director as well, it seems like Nolan's really gone off the fucking deep end with this one. Like, people talk to him about the casting of Travis Scott in the movie, for example. And I think Nolan says something, there's an article out there you can read saying that, oh, well, he justifies the casting because he says the Odyssey is almost like the modern equivalent of like rap, how
I see.
like
Okay,
is like passed through time. But then there's things about the orchestration, like he didn't want this sweeping orchestral score for the music, and his argument is that the orchestra instrument didn't exist at the time, so he's recorded various like cymbals and drums and ran them through a synthesizer, which is the music for the film. I'm like, synthesizers didn't fucking exist at the time. Like, what are we doing? Rap didn't exist at the time. Like, what are these arguments?
Well, his argument about rap, I understand it, but I think it's a poor argument. It's the idea that the Odyssey is this tradition of oral poetry, and that people would like remember the story, and so you have all these things. You have these things in it called EU. I can't remember. It's like the name that you give someone. They're techniques to help people remember parts of it, and so you have a very famous scene in the Iliad of Hector arming up, a bit like Commando with Schwarzenegger. And so when you say like Travis Scott continues that tradition, I understand what he means, which is about like oral stories and stuff. But I think it's a little bit patronizing to things like rap, which is actually sort of about like social critiques and how people live their lives and so on. And it seems to me, once again, a very surface level comparison of two things that don't match up. I'd much prefer him to have taken someone like I don't know if our American friends will know who Craig Charles is, but Craig Charles is Lister from Red Dwarf, but is also a poet. And like there is a huge difference between poetry and rap. And to say that rap is poetry is a disservice to both of them. And it shows me that I think he has a very shallow understanding of the Odyssey. In the same way that the people that made Oh Brother, Where Art Thou didn't even read the Odyssey when they made the film. I get the impression that Nolan wants to make a sort of he wants to take the modern age and put it into a sort of fantasy setting, and I just, that's not what the Odyssey is. It's timeless, and it's something that you should be able to recognize in 1700 and 27,000.
I think our review on it would be really interesting because I mean I'm coming from it as a complete noob. I've never read the Odyssey. I don't know all the ins and outs of the Odyssey at all. So I'm coming in as a average moviegoer to this one, whereas Bathtime, you're well versed in it, you've read it and everything like that. So, but even the trailers that have come out for it that should be getting regular normal people that have never read the Odyssey jazzed for it, I'm just like, like just not. It just looks really uninspired. It looks flat. It looks very drear. The acting, the accents, and just the way that they were talking just didn't gel. The costumes, the armor and everything didn't look right to me, and everything like that. So I haven't been blown away by any of the marketing for this film. I mean, we've had 2 trailers already, and I think a lot of people it'll be huge like opening weekend because Christopher Nolan is probably the most important.
He's the biggest director in the world.
He's the biggest director. People will go, Oppenheimer, a 3-hour biopic on Oppenheimer making over was it $1 billion? It made over $1 billion or something like that at the box office on a film like that. And I think this will have a big opening weekend, but I don't know. It's difficult to say. I don't think it will hit the heights that they're expecting. I think it will have a big drop off.
What is he going up against Spielberg? I know Spielberg's got an Alien film coming out.
Yeah.
Is it Christmas though?
Let's have a look. So no, that's coming out in a couple of weeks, I think, actually. So Odyssey UK release date is going to be July 17th. And what's Spielberg's new movie called? Something
I don't
Day.
know. Designation Day. It's got Emily Bloom in it.
Oh, Emily Blunt, isn't it? Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
Disclosure Day.
Thank you. So what did I say? 17th of July, 12th of June. Okay, they're a month apart. So, yeah. I think it will do just fine, but I don't think it will have the legs that some of the other ones have done. I think a lot of people are going to be way more critical on this one than a lot of his other movies. I don't think it's going to be as lauded, which is a shame because I would love to see this genre make a comeback.
Yes.
I love the Swords and Sandals movie, the Jason and the Argonauts kind of stuff.
I do miss Swords and Sandals.
Oh, sorry?
I do miss Swords and Sandals, like Gladiator, Troy.
Yeah.
Troy
we referenced earlier.
Absolutely wicked. Like, as someone who loves like the works of Homer, Troy is so weird because it's the closest I've seen to a really good adaptation of the main themes, and it's done by one of the guys that ended up doing Game of Thrones.
Can we review that before it comes out? Because I've actually never watched it. I've got it on DVD.
Absolutely.
I've actually never watched it, so that could be cool to do.
It's like Brad Pitt. I don't think he's a great film star. Like he's not really in very like. Maybe you could argue Fight Club or something, but he is unbelievable as Achilles. Mm-hmm. Like his arrogance, how beautiful he is. Like the fight between him and Hector, who is
I've heard that's really good. Yeah, I've heard that's really good.
It's amazing, and it's like when you think of like doing the Silmarillion or something, the tone of Troy is actually probably something you would look at where it's very grounded, it's very based in the real world, but the feats are exaggerated.
I was getting heavy Troy vibes from your Silmarillion movie Bathtime.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because I tried to concentrate on what I think Troy. Are you a fan of Troy, JX?
I love Troy, but also the fact that you kind of centered on Fall of Gondolin. And you kept the Valar out of it.
And this is in Troy.
Like, literally, the Fall of Gondolin is Tolkien's Iliad, or not Iliad, and Troy keeps the gods out of it.
Yeah, like well, I
won't
think
be a 10-year siege.
Sorry, Under Siege.
I heard beseech. Was it siege?
I said there won't even be a 10-year siege, which is a reference to the movie and the Iliad.
Isn't Bernard Hill in Troy as well?
Brian Cox is in Troy, and I remember I wanted to cast Brian Cox as someone, but I've forgotten who it is.
He's already played Helm Hammerhand.
Commander Mormont is in it.
He's played Helm Hammerhand. Oh, in
Yeah,
the Rohirrim. I
he
only
did the
watched
voice of
half
him.
an hour of that. Absolutely dreadful.
Oh, James
What's the
Cosmo,
watch?
you say, is in it? That's him, isn't it? The Scottish actor who was in Braveheart, Highlander, Game of Thrones, Mormont.
Yeah.
He's a good actor.
It would be good to see a lot of the Game of Thrones people in, like, that's the kind of casting I hope they do for the Silmarillion, where they get like really good Northern Irish like play actors that we like Varys, for example, was incredible in Game of Thrones. And obviously you have your stunt casting, like Charles Dance would be great to somehow find as a character in the Silmarillion.
No, I need him to play Saruman. If they ever do a remake, he's the only one. He's the only one who can do it, damn it. So he's getting up there now, though, isn't he? I think, bless him, Charles Dance.
I would actually like him as Denethor. He's my Denethor, to be honest. And I thought so. I also really want Matt Smith involved in the Silmarillion somehow, because even if he's young, he's always played old really well.
He's got sort of like an old way about it. Like his face is quite old as well. Even though I think he was the youngest Doctor who was cast at the time.
Well, that's my worry, is that they're going to put people like David Tennant in, and I've seen David Tennant's Hamlet, and I wasn't impressed. I've got to be honest. Because I really hope that with things like the Silmarillion, that we get to, I'm a bit worried that the Odyssey, if it does well, might clear out one of the only avenues for British actors, which is in these, you have to be British in these historical things. And I'd love to see like our Shakespearean theatre industry like get up on the rise again, because like as much as I love someone like Tom Holland and I'm delighted for his success, I'd much prefer a proper British actor with theatre training and Shakespeare training to kind of get these roles, because where are the Patrick Stewarts and Ian McKellens going to come from?
I'm fine with American actors being in them as long as they do an accent. Look at Brad Dourif, for example, as Grima Wormtongue.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you can get someone that can do the accent and do it well, even not an amazing actress in other stuff that she's been in, but I thought even Liv Tyler was amazing as Arwen. I thought she fit the bill, and the accent.
It's an easy part though, isn't it? Because you're just like overexposed with light, and you have to look pretty and sort of she does. I mean, I really hope that we get to see her like messing about at Helm's Deep. Like, I don't know if that was filmed or not.
It was filmed, yeah. No, you can still see her in a couple of the shots in the background. It was all filmed, yeah.
I almost cast Liv Tyler as Morwen.
Right. Okay.
I need Elizabeth Debicki in there. I keep like fan casting her in a remake of Lord of the Rings as Galadriel. I was thinking like, could she be Melian maybe?
I thought Keira Knightley for Melian, to be honest. When like in JX's really weird kind of like 2016 multiverse thing, I was thinking that like would Keira Knightley be, because
I don't think she's doing anything around about that point, is she? So Pirates of the Caribbean money's kind of dried up. She cameoed at the end of Pirates 5.
I was going to say.
She did well in Little Women. She's just had a big hit, I think, on Netflix with some TV show.
Excuse me, I just need to run to use the bathroom real quick.
But it's it's kind of like I'm disappointed that the Harry Potter films don't just have more ginger British people in them. Like the new TV show. I think it's one of the great things about British culture is that we produce really good actors, and I'm worried it's drying up at the moment.
Yeah.
Tom Holland can't be our best, or Tom Hiddleston. Come on.
Well, Robin says, I've said for a decade that Matt Smith should play Frankenstein's monster, and knowing it will never happen depresses me.
That's a good question, actually. Who did JX pick for Luthien?
Oh, that's I can't remember the name. I didn't recognize the name for her, I must admit. She looked the part. She looked gorgeous, but she had like the black hair and the fair skin, so yeah, I'm not sure. I can't remember who he picked. But I do remember he picked Eva Green though as Melian.
Yes,
so, you know what?
I absolutely love Eva Green. Like, I watched the sequel to the 300. Simply,
you watch it for that. You watch it for that one scene.
Well, there's two scenes I really like. One is where this guy walks into a swimming pool and comes out as Xerxes.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's amazing. But like Eva Green plays that kind of femme fatale. She's so incredible at it, and in real life, she's just nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
She's got that. I could imagine her as Melian being this like otherworldly quality to her. Like she exudes that kind of mysticism, in her line delivery and the way that she holds herself and everything. That kind of purring voice that she does really well.
And it's going to be so interesting how because like I think we all almost certainly will have very different interpretations of like even people like Feanor. I'm really worried that for these films when they come out, like even who is playing Aragorn in is it Jamie Dornan?
Yes, I think so. Yes, from he was in 50 Shades of Grey, wasn't he? Is it him?
Yeah, he went to school with a friend of mine in Northern Ireland, and I've spoken to him on the telephone once, but I'm not sure if he's going to be my Aragorn. Do you know what I mean? He can. I think he'll be good and stuff like that. But it's like when JX had like Morgoth as Henry Cavill, it's just so removed from what I think of Morgoth as, and I'm so intrigued to see how they sort all of this out. And part of me just doesn't want it to happen. To be honest, like
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. So
or just do it in anime or something so I don't have to take it seriously.
Well, anime would be perfect for the Silmarillion. I've always said that. I think that animation is definitely the way to go when it comes to this. But I think because of the shit reception to War of the Rohirrim, I mean, the animation wasn't great. It was kind of choppy, but that was because they sort of pared it off to about 10 different studios to try and cobble it together real quick.
I like the look of it.
Yeah.
I think the art style seemed quite nice and pleasing, but
it's inconsistent in the film. That's the main thing. Like there's some bits that genuinely look really good, and then other bits look really ropey, like it was thrown together in a weekend.
Would you be all right with the first stage animated and the second stage like filmed?
I wouldn't want it to mix and match between the two. I think just commit to one and tell it. Yeah, I'm a bit weird.
I think second age is fine. Like Numenor and things is a little bit difficult. In order to sort of getting it correct and stuff. I think Gondolin actually suits itself to filming quite well. Yeah. But I mean, crossing the Helcaraxe and then like the sun rising for the first time and stuff. It's just it's not grounded in reality, is it? It's myth. And I'm doing this project. I'm of the opinion that they can't make a film that stays true enough to the Silmarillion.
It needs to be an anthology, I think, is as we've kind of shown with that thing. Like I've tried to connect it with a through line of like the Silmarils and the Oath of Feanor, but with JX's, I mean, you've done like a standalone, but I could imagine if it was successful, there would be lots of
I have to go on to War of Wrath.
Yeah, you do like little standalone stories like that are vaguely connected but kind of stand on their own, and I think that's the way to go. However, I don't think that's the model that they'll go for. I think the ones that we'll see kind of exemplified by the two films that we've got coming out with Hunt for Gollum and Shadow of the Past, it's still latching on to stuff. It's almost like the unoriginality of what Disney's doing with Star Wars at the moment. It's so beholden to the original trilogy constantly and the iconography of that, and we've got to keep repeating beats of that. It's like when there comes a point where you have to move forward, and I get there's moments that sort of like echo through time with the Silmarillion into the Lord of the Rings. I get that, but I feel like the projects that they're going to pick, as has already been seen with Hunt for Gollum and Shadow of the Past, are going to be ones that tie back into it. So you mentioned Beren and Luthien.
It has to be.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? As that could be the first one that you jump into.
I mean, there are two things you adapt the Silmarillion for. It's Beren and Luthien and Erendil on his boat.
Yeah.
Like, those are the things people want to see.
But even that flying boat in Peter Jackson's Middle-earth, is that
I just don't understand why he wants to do it in some way. I know that He did a World War II thing. He did the Beatles thing. He did. Is it King Kong? He did as well. It was bloody dreadful.
Yeah, that was like 2006, wasn't it? I think that came out in 2005.
He's done nothing since Lord of the Rings, and I'm sure The Hobbit really does weigh on him. And I also think that he probably sees himself as the main guy of the New Zealand film industry. And there's so much pressure on him to make a film, to give everyone jobs and stuff like that. But I really wish that he would sort of take a more supervisory role with something like The Rings of Power and actually make it good.
Well, I think that was the original plan. Like, he mentioned that he said that he wanted to see scripts first before he agreed to work on it. And when he reached out to them and said, like, yeah, I'll be down, send me the scripts, they ghosted him. They never got back to him.
They ghosted Peter Jackson.
Yeah, that's what he said. That was in an interview. Yeah, he was asked about it. I remember watching it. Yeah, and I remember originally they had like Tom Shippey, who was signed up to it as well, who's, you know, like the professor.
Scholar.
Yeah, the Tolkien scholar. And then there was an article saying he parted ways over creative differences. Well, you see the end product, you can entirely imagine why. So, yeah.
Man,
I feel like that was their chance to sort of unite, like the elements that were like Peter Jackson and the leadership of the filmic trilogies with Amazon. That was their chance, but now that's been sundered. Now you've got kind of like two rival companies. You've got Amazon that spent a shit ton of money for the rights to those small little aspects of the appendices, and now you've got Warner Brothers kind of competing with the Tolkien property now.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that the Tolkien Estate is not what it was, and
no,
they, you know, I'm sure they're pretty diligent about protecting their copyright and so on. And I'm going to shock you, I don't know how copyright law works, but maybe you do have to put it out to tender in order to keep the copyright. And we know that they're going to have to do reprints of Lord of the Rings and so on to keep it. So
yeah,
putting these things out is a good idea. And I'm not sure how much material is still left. Like, I'm fairly sure that Christopher Tolkien would have discarded a lot.
I'm not sure. I think the latest one that was I think there's been like a poem collection of Tolkien, like a complete one. I think the last sort of vestige of that, you can almost view this as like the unofficial 13th volume of the History of Middle Earth, was edited by Carl F. Hofstadter. It's the Nature of Middle Earth. And
Right.
He was shocked. I think, like, he mentioned that he doesn't believe there's any more Lord of the Rings related material. Like, this is the last. This is like the dregs. He said there's still like a lot of academic papers and notes that Tolkien's written that's never seen the light of day, and stuff on his languages and everything. But in terms of Tolkien stuff, he believes that that's the end. I mean, never say never. There could always be like in an attic somewhere, in a drawer somewhere, they could find that fully written chapter of Dagor Dagorath or something. Who knows? But
well, I'd love them to just suddenly find out that he actually finished the sequel.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, the new Shadow you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, for me, I've always said this. I'm just very happy with the Lord of the Rings book by itself. Like, that's the one thing that I think he was happy with, was completed, and is you know, like, that and The Hobbit are the two real canon things we've got. The other stuff is just like, is kind of like, I mean, he always sort of talks about Lord of the Rings and the Legendarium as if he doesn't really understand it himself and things. You know, that it's something that has sort of grown and got too big, and it's pieces here and there. And I love that. I think that's a really cool way of looking at it. And what I don't want is for the films to establish canon. You know, like with Frodo being this weak character and things instead of who he really was. And so I feel it gets taken away from me. And I'm worried that Peter Jackson is going to take the Lord of the Rings away from what it is with this Silmarillion.
JX, you've just shared something to canvas. Do you want me to bring that up? Oh, nice. Of course,
My
of course.
I was working on the Silmarillion stream. My friend saw some of the stuff I was making. I was like, I really want to see something from the new from that sequel he was writing.
Dude, does that say 76,205 pieces?
Hey, fuck off.
Jesus, that would cost like fucking hell. You have to take out a second mortgage for that shit.
What's the symbol? Is it the Eye of Sauron
The Eye
with
of
Morgoth?
Sauron.
Yeah,
But with Morgoth's
That's
sort
actually
of trident thing.
That's actually kind of badass. I mean, if we're talking in terms of books that we would love to have seen, I mean, I'm always curious about the new Shadow, but to me, it would be like, no, it's why Tolkien didn't pursue it, because he was like, no, it's the end is the Lord of the Rings. I really wanted to see his revised version of The Hobbit, where he was going to try and make it more mature and bring it in line. Because I mean, we've got 2 full chapters and then notes on what he was going to do with a short rest, but that person said, like, this is great, but it's not The Hobbit, and because of that, he stopped working on it. I'm like, no, don't listen to the naysayers. You keep writing that. I think maybe he just thought that, and he was getting towards the winter years of his life at that point, that it would be too much work. The first 2 chapters, maybe not too much, but as soon as you get to the elves, and you've got all that rich history, and you're trying to, you've got to try and develop and update old Tra-la-la-lally here in the valley, haha, like the happy singing, mischievous, enigmatic
but it's written by Bilbo, and Bilbo is that character. Like, you can look at it and you can see not the real story, but your own version, like a darker version within it, and so on. Like, I don't think that we need more Lord of the Rings and Hobbit and stuff like that. I think it's perfectly fine to give different interpretations of it. But what I want to see is, I want to see the themes correctly portrayed about, like, the mortality of man, and like in Jackson's universe, you have absolutely no understanding of Eru Ilúvatar, or the fact that this is the world that we live in today. Like, that this, that it's not that, this is Middle Earth is us, and so on. And
I've never liked that. I must admit that. I know that that's in the design of it, but I really kind of hate that idea. I like it being a separate thing to our world.
Why?
Well, it's okay. So what? There's like a tectonic shift, and then we've got like Britain and America and like Africa and Antarctica. Like,
no, sorry. The War of Wrath was the first tectonic shift. The later tectonic shift would be the heirs of Gondor. I mean, it's the Abrahamic flood.
Well, all of this is like pre-history. This is pre-everything. It's like
but the thing that connects Middle Earth to our world is the Abrahamic flood.
Mm-hmm. I like my escapism to be that. I don't want to. Even when I read it, like, I don't think, oh, one day, there's all going to be skyscrapers here, and this is going to be us. Like, I'm that idea, even though I know that exists and that was Tolkien's intention, that is so divorced from me when I'm reading the text.
Oh, shut up, Chris. If you were like walking down the street, and then suddenly Morgoth is in the sky, and you're like, oh my god. And then Dagalath is, and this Al-Farazon is bursting out of a car park in Milton Keynes. Do you know what I mean? Then, like, Feanor comes charging out of Bristol. You're like, yo, lads, let's go. You'll be right there with them, like, just shouting death and running at it. It'd be amazing.
Thorin has returned.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's like the King Arthur myth or something. It's like how our world was shaped, and I don't see how it is any more or less diminished by setting it on another planet.
I don't know. I'm not keen on it. Let me have a look at some of the comments here, because Robin's been messaging. We've got to get to some of Robin's messages here. Who would you even get to play Luthien? How does anyone live up to the most epic lady of all fantasy? Who did you cast again, JX, for Luthien?
The
I
love
can bring it up. Can you go
Caribbean 5?
Can you? Oh, her, was that her? Oh, Barbossa's daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not because of her in Pirates of the Caribbean 5. Also, I have to excuse myself in shortly, but I did want to get add one thing to my to my pitch, if I may.
Mm-hmm. Is it another Lego set?
I put in the comments earlier while I was giving what ended up being a wholly unnecessary ride, that I would explain how I would do the Einolindale.
Mm-hmm.
So, because Chris, you talked a lot about prologues to your movies.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Great Tales, only the first one would get like a prologue, and it would be very similar to like the beginning of the Hobbit, of Unexpected Journey and Fellowship. The ones titled The Silmarillion would get prologues too, with no narration.
Oh, okay, so you're going like just abstract images, Fantasia kind of thing, letting the music play.
So after the prologue of Oath of Feanor, we get like the elves waking up with that front-on shot I described. That front-on shot of men waking up is the beginning of the prologue of Rune of Beleriand.
Mm.
And we follow them for a bit, and we get to the Edain and Barahir and so on. But the prologue of the Oath of Feanor, we start with black. And then we hear a horn blast 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Then 12 horns begin to play in unison, following the same rhythm and playing in unison with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the symphony begins to join in gradually, compounding on the rhythm and becoming this great orchestral theme. Meanwhile, we're basically flying through space, seeing like stars form, nebulas, planets. You get what I'm saying? We're seeing creation.
Mm-hmm.
Then one of the horns starts to do its own thing, and we start to see things like black holes, supernovas, the collapsing of planets. And things don't. We're seeing the dark side of nature along with the light side, with the beauty of creation and so on, with an actual orchestral interpretation of the Einolindale.
Mm-hmm.
Until eventually the chaotic rhythm sort of forms its own harmonics, and we see like we see like volcanoes and like more organized chaos, like wildfires, wolves, the predators.
Mm-hmm.
Until the music of let's just say what it is, the music of the Ainur starts to play more rhythmically and concurrently with the chaos of with the Melkorian chaos, until finally it's all brought to another black screen with the sounding of that same first horn.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that might be too abstract for moviegoers. They're probably thinking like, did we like walk into a sci-fi
but you're also
movie
getting
or something?
like directed by, music by, played, like you are getting like credits and stuff.
Oh, we're doing the opening of Superman the movie, just like whoosh.
Yeah.
It's
It's very Space Odyssey 2001.
It is
that idea.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. It's just like, what is the point of it? Like, what are you trying to show?
We weren't going to get to the Einolindale as like an actual thing, so I wanted to get it in anyway. But on that note, I do need to excuse myself, gentlemen.
No problem. Thanks for joining us, man.
It was a pleasure finally meeting you about time.
I
hope we can do another stream again together. Chris, get on that shit.
Yes, I will do my best.
YouTube.com/JXEditor. Carthago de Linda Est.
Gesundheit. Yes, thank you. We'll catch you soon, man. Take care.
Peace out, man.
See ya.
It's such a sexy language, French, isn't it?
Oh, I know.
I assume that's some form of Sindarin that I won't utter here.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get to a few more of Robin's comments here, then I think we'll probably we'll round off because we're approaching almost the runtime of Return of the King Extended Edition as we're going. Robin says, I wouldn't have watched Hunt for Gollum anyway, but when I saw the Aragorn casting, I literally threw things. I've never seen the 50 Shades of Grey movies, and I don't think I've seen him in anything, so I'll wait till the movie. I think for me, it's just weird that you've still got you sort of got one foot in the door of recasts, which you've talked about before, and new blood in these roles, but then you've still got your foot in the door of the old stuff. So you've still got Thranduil, you've still got Gollum, you've still got Frodo and Ian McKellen Gandalf, but then this new fucking guy shows up as Aragorn. It's like, well, he ain't Aragorn because all these other chaps have showed up, and we know what Aragorn's meant to be within this world. So
they're kind of immortal, though, like in some senses, with sort of like Gollum, Gandalf, Olorin. It's all right. The only thing that I've really cared about is that they get the character right and things. And like Aragorn is a very special character. Like even in the films, he's a special character with his take on masculinity and his just things like his the way he touches stuff and things like It's such a wonderful performance from Viggo Mortensen. I really hope that it's not an impression, but it's a sort of a grounded interpretation along the same lines. And I think what we're all worried about is that if they get this wrong, there's no more Lord of the Rings in cinema form for 20 or 30 years. And then we have to get whatever the 2060 version of Lord of the Rings is going to be, and let's face it's probably going to be rubbish.
Such a depressing thought, isn't it? I think when you hit that point, it is almost like the elves. You're just seeing the world change too much around you, and it's like, you know what? I'm going to get out of here. It's my time to move into the West now.
This is why I save all the books that I haven't read, like Morgoth's Ring for 20 years time or whatever. So I don't want to go all the way through Tolkien and just have nothing except the scraps from Warner Brothers table, because imagine if your first introduction to the Second Age is the fucking Rings of Power. And I mean,
the thing is, I'm sure it is for a lot of people,
and they all pretend to like it.
Well, we'll have some stuff to say about that, won't we, in December? So,
I can't.
November, sorry, yeah.
I like everything in Middle Earth is genuinely an incredibly funny man.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
It's his accent combined with what he's saying, like the ridiculousness of it. I can't wait to see what they do with season 3. It's got to be a complete reboot. And they were founding Rivendell when we last saw them, weren't they?
That's right, yeah. I remember Galadriel falling off like a massive cliff and somehow she survived. She had a fight with Sauron. Remember, he's like fighting with his crown. He's like spiky.
Yeah.
And then
That's
I remember
right.
she falls off a cliff, but she's fine. And then it's her, Elrond, and was it Gil-galad?
No, Brother Elf, I think, was there.
That was it, yeah. And then they were all joining forces to start building Eladris, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, is Celeborn going to turn up? Like, they've kind of got to.
She should have a daughter by this point as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that they've got a speed run. I generally wouldn't be surprised if we see her as a mother.
Well, I thought that Jamie? What did you say his name was? Who's been cast in season 3?
Campbell?
I wondered if he was going to be Celeborn, because they keep hinting at a Celeborn, maybe.
I wonder if he's Glorfindel.
Could be getting him in there. I mean, it was that same cavalier attitude of, well, Tom Bombadil's never been done before. Let's throw him in there. Whereas,
I can't wait. It's gonna be like clinically fascinating. What they do. It won't be good, but because has the dwarf story finished? I remember one of the dwarfs.
They unleashed the Balrog like centuries before that should happen.
Yeah,
but now they're all
skydived with an axe. axe into the Balrog.
Yeah, he did.
That
And the
happened,
thing is,
didn't
like,
it?
they're still in. They haven't evacuated Khazad-dûm. They're still like that. Just happened. Their king is dead. The Balrog is in the adjacent room, but they're still there. I think it's some
That's
kind of
right,
power
'cause-
struggle, isn't it, or something? Like I've heard that
Yeah,
Durin's
Honorin's
brother's
in
going to
Druid.
show up.
In Druid. Oh my
Look-
god, there's so much crazy stuff that's going on that makes absolutely no sense.
We've introduced
Sauron's
Saruman.
in Mordor with the rings. Yeah?
Yes, he's got the knight, so it's going to be all about the Nazgul in season 3, apparently.
Oh, I like that. What's Theo doing?
I remember him getting eaten. Was it Isildur gets eaten by a nameless thing, like one of those
I
worms?
forgot about Isildur.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm actually gonna have to watch it again.
You've got Elendil's daughter, who's like, is she going for like the Palantir or something? Or is she
Granger.
siding with?
Yeah,
the-
right. That's right. An eagle turned up with Al-Farazon,
that's it. Yeah.
and so Al-Farazon is king of Numenor. So I
He
assume
tries
he's
to
got a-
sacrifice Miriel, doesn't like Miriel's blinded, and I remember he tries to like sacrifice her to a
Yeah.
kraken.
'cause they've got to get married.
Yes, yeah, and he changes her name, doesn't he? Yeah.
So maybe the first episode is the marriage of Celeborn and no, it would be Elrond. Like they'll do something like they'll mirror the marriage of Al-Farazon and Miriel with Elrond and I forget the name of the daughter.
Yeah, no, I haven't got a hope in hell. Even 2 seasons deep, I think that was like a running joke with me and everything in Middle Earth. We was like, "What's her name again?" we genuinely couldn't remember her name. What I was going to say. Here's the thing, though, and I admire this because I was like this for a while with Rings of Power. We know how it should go. We've got the roadmap, so we keep thinking, "Well, this needs to happen, and this needs to happen, and this needs to happen." Now that we're 2 seasons deep and we're seeing what they're doing with the shit, just throw that out of the window, man, because it ain't gonna. It won't fit the bill. They're doing their own thing. It's its own thing.
I think it's going to be a complete reset, and they're going to follow the rules now.
Well, judging by what Galadriel's got an orc companion.
Oh, I forgot about that. They're doing a trip, aren't they?
So, I mean, there is an attempt to course correct where you've mentioned things like they're not going to pursue the Harfoot story anymore. So you could maybe there's going to be a significant time jump or something between the last season and this one. So there are attempts to maybe sort of get it back on some kind of track. But then you read stuff like that and you're like, ugh. Is it going to be with a Dar, or is it like a random orc that she's on a...
I hope that they're basing it on Rush Hour 2 or something, and we're going to get a really fun cultural comedy.
Yeah.
I can't wait, because genuinely they're at the point where they can do absolutely anything.
Yeah. And that's terrifying.
It's amazing, isn't it? I can't wait. I genuinely can't wait to see what they do, because there's a genius in their stupidity. Like it's incredible. Like, do you remember the battle that they had outside Hedagon? And it's just loads of people standing in the mud.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And like they blew a mountain up to like drain a river or something. It's going to be amazing.
Well, I remember how much they bigged up that troll. Damrod, was it, or something like that? That big in the marketing everywhere they were talking about this troll, and Brother Legolas just shows up and just dispatches it in like 10 seconds flat, barely an inconvenience, and that was it.
I actually really like. I feel sorry for Brother Legolas, because I think that if they did what I was hoping they did, which is turn Theo's mum into a Nazgul, I think there's a really cool story there, because it's like an inversion of Beren and Luthien. Like, you know, they're both like immortal and stuff, and I could see it happening. I think that would have been really, really cool. But she pissed off, and they didn't know what to do with him. So, like, I think he's quite good as an elf. Like, I like how he was well into trees and things, and he was sort of like, he had that he didn't have Legolas's joy from the books, but he had the respect for nature and so on. And in this, I mean, sometimes the orcs are allergic to sunlight, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're family men, sometimes they're just crazy. I can't wait to see.
It's the haircuts on the elves I can't get over. Not even just Brother Legolas. I mean, even Elrond's sort of like quiff, like fringe or whatever you call it, like the. And as Robin says as well, Celebrimbor is one of my favorite characters of Rings of Power. Is what people think he is. Yeah, they just
Mr.
get some.
Mouse.
They just get some old geezer and give him like short hair, and yeah, oh God Almighty.
And also, they completely wasted. Like, what would have been a really cool tie-in is asking Galadriel for the hair, because that never happened, did it?
No. The two didn't even cross paths, did they? I'm trying to remember. Or did they meet like very, very briefly?
They would have met in the first step. I think they would have met when. Do you remember there was all that stuff about the tree, and they needed Mithril to fix it or something? And then Mithril turned out to be lightning from Fingolfin fighting a Balrog. I mean,
you know, as opposed to it just being a fucking alloy that exists, a bit, you know, an element. Oh God.
It's absolutely. I mean, I can't wait to see what they do with Sauron. I hope that they have Sauron just like doing whatever he wants. Like, you know, everyone else is on a road trip following the plot, and Sauron is like surfing krakens and like trying to and running around like trying to seduce Smaug or something like Saddam Hussein in South Park the movie with the devil. Like, I just want him to be completely out of control in the next film, in the next TV. It's going to be amazing.
Everything's just wrong. I mean, they made the 3 Elven Rings at the end of season 1 before all the other ones were made.
Yeah, in about 2 minutes they did that. And I watched it with my dad, who knows nothing about Lord of the Rings or anything about it. And he thought it was all right. And then at the end, I remember him turning to me. So he used to drive down on Sunday to watch it. It's just like, what is going on? I had to explain to him what happened. It's like, this is rubbish. So that guy is Sauron. Like, yeah.
Walks into Mordor at the end like a shadow lord, edge lord, whatever you call them, you know, and the font changes to Mordor.
Yeah. It should be called Waldragia.
yes, the rightful ruler. And then they speedrun the whole dwarven corruption shit with the rings there. I need season 3 to be Sauron auditioning people for the roles of the 9, like a job interview.
Like in Pitch Perfect.
Yeah,
yeah. They're all in
montage.
Front. Oh, well,
why do you think you're qualified to be the Lord of Darkness?
Yeah, like it says you're a Witch King. Tell me about a time you solved a problem with magic.
What exactly is a Witch King?
I actually, that would be really fun. If season 3 just has a subplot of Sauron going around looking for people to corrupt,
recruiting people, yeah.
All right,
3 of them are meant to be Númenóreans, but I mean, who we got at Númenor? We haven't got anyone. At Númenor.
We've got Hermione Granger, and Alfarazon's son.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe he could be one of the 9. Who knows? Right.
Oh, I hope they just all know each other. Like 9 guys just turn up on day 1 saying like, we're 9 powerful lords of Númenor and we demand answers. And Sauron, he's got a lot of answers in it.
Maybe it'll be those masked people in Rune that like the bounty hunters.
Yeah, but
Tusken Raiders, that's it, yeah.
What is Olorin or Gandalf going to be getting up to? Like, the half-books are gone, so we're going to have a season of Gandalf wandering around, just trying to find stuff to do.
I think it'll be... So, season 1, he found his name, I think. So the end of season 2, he got his staff. I think season 3 is just going to be him finding a hat.
Or, actually, he's going to have to go and see Kirkdan, isn't he?
Who, sorry? Who's he?
Kirkdan, to get the ring.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Because he's been in it, hasn't he? We saw him in season 2.
Yeah. And he had the beard. I was like, oh, cool. And then immediately shaved it in the next scene. I was like, oh. You did one thing right, Rings of Power, then immediately you just,
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
I'm so glad. So I reached out again to Everything in Middle-earth, and he messaged back, and he was like, yeah, I'm down for it. It'll be really fun to do it again. So I think we've got him on board again. I haven't really spoke to him all that much. I mean, I haven't spoke to him, on camera since season 2 was out. So it's going to be a really nice reunion, and obviously we've got you on board as well for it as well. So we're gonna have a good time with it. We're gonna have a great time with it. It'll be really fun.
I can't wait. Like, I hope that they don't drop 3 episodes. Like, what I'm really worried about is they release the entire series in one go.
That was one thing that I enjoyed was everyone therapy is in session, right? Every week let's talk about what we've got. I think for season 1, I think they released the first 2. I can't remember with season 2 if they released a stack of them initially. I'm not sure. They may have done. I think they just want to kind of get it out there and sweep it under the rug.
I'm worried that they're just going to dump it in one go, and I've got to watch 6 hours of the fucking Rings of Power.
Yeah.
And that, I'm thinking, I have to rewatch series 2. I can't do series 1, but I can do series 2. But
I may have to, but
I'm remembering some of the things that happened. Like, do you remember when this like Elrond fights a Barrow Elf? A Barrow White.
Barrow White, yeah.
That happens, doesn't it? They're on a walk and some Barrow Whites pop up. Like, and run
it's
away.
The same attitude that they've got for the Shadow of the Past movie that's coming out. It's like, oh, well, we never did Tom Bombadil. Oh, let's put him in. Oh, no, we didn't do the Barrow Whites either. It was the same exact thing with Rings of Power Season 2. It was like, let's get Bombadil in there. Let's get the Barrow Whites in there.
Wouldn't it be amazing, though, if, like, Colbert just goes completely, like, crazy in interviews, just basically shitting on the Rings of Power, like, all the time, saying we're going to do it properly. That'd be great.
I mean, I hope he does, but Robin says everything in Middle-earth is so much better than Nerd of the Rings. Just saying. I agree. You want to know why? Because everything in Middle-earth keeps it real, and didn't sugarcoat anything, didn't try and curry favor with anything or any organization. Just told it like it was, and I appreciate that. Authenticity, integrity is very, very important to me. Right, we're going to round it off there. Bathtime, tell me about your channel. What you got coming up, man?
Not a lot, because we're taking the summer off. But we do a film. We do a film podcast thing. But Tyrone has been cast in a film and will be unavailable for about 8 to 10 weeks. But yeah, on that channel, I do a show with my friend who's an actor, and we talk a lot of bollocks about films and argue quite a lot. So if you like that kind of thing, you're more than welcome to join us, but there are better uses of your time.
Excellent stuff. I'm going to do a quick shout out to Dale and his upcoming book that's coming out. We will be announcing a winner of the competition this Wednesday when we review Finding Dory, I think it is, which I need to get watched tomorrow. The question we want you to answer is, who voiced Sully in Monsters, Inc.? And please send your answers in to the email address below. As I mentioned, the winner is going to be decided on Wednesday, so you've still got a few days to get it in, and you'll get a signed copy of Dale's book, which is I'm really glad he's got it done, and he's like actually made something something physical out there in the world, which is amazing. In the meantime, this has been a Silmarillion stream, so let us know how you would adapt the Silmarillion. It's a very, very tricky task, so if anyone wants to send me an essay in the comment section, by all means, we'd love to hear which kind of stories you'd want to see adapted from this story, if any. And of course, do consider subscribing to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. So next week, obviously, I've got Pixar, and on the Sunday, I will be seeing Scary Movie 6, which I'm really hoping is good, because that's one of the most nostalgic comedy films to me. That whole series fills me with joy. It's just very silly. It's very stupid, and that's my sense of humor. So I'm really hoping Scary Movie 6 is good. And there's some big summer movies coming out as well in the ensuing weeks, which I will more than likely be talking about. Dude, I watched a clip from it on YouTube, which was Roto the Hutt speaking in a regular accent. The CGI looked dreadful, and he was fighting Mando in like the gladiatorial ring, and I was like, I don't want to see this shit. I've seen enough from this one clip. Just Roto the Hutt has just like a voice of some guy. He's not, it's not like, like Jabba the Hutt. It's just
he's just speaking like, just Like, all right, mate, what's going on?
And it doesn't match like the anatomy, you know, like even when he's fighting Mando, just the physics of it make no sense. You got this huge, massive, muscular thing just swinging full force at Mando, and he's just blocking it like it's nothing. I'm like, oh, it looks so bad. I was like, I can't do this to myself. I know exactly what it's going to be, and I don't want to waste 2.5 hours of my life watching it. No, I think mostly just people have said like it doesn't like break any law or anything like that, so it doesn't ruffle as many feathers as the sequel trilogy did. But it's just,
is that the standard we have now?
It's just content. It's essentially what it was meant to be. It was 4 episodes of a season 4 that have just been mashed together, and it's just there it is. So it's not like developing the characters or anything. It's like a bottle episode, a couple of bottle episodes from an upcoming season that they just took the scripts for and just put it together.
Well, hopefully he pisses off now, Pedro Pascal. I'm sick to death of him.
Yeah.
He's in everything. I look in the mirror and I expect to see him looking back at me.
It's completely oversaturated, wasn't he? So yeah. But anyway, we'll round it off there. Big thank you to Robin and everyone else that we had in the comments earlier as well for keeping the conversation going. We will catch you on the next stream. Take care, everyone.
Good night.